Hey everybody, I'm the Ranting Monkey and welcome to yet another stream because I just can't stop. With me tonight, as always apparently, my buddy Scribe Light. And we're here tonight to talk about life-changing events. Um, I was supposed to have an appointment tomorrow to get my MRI results. That has been put off because we have a major snowstorm coming. But it made me think my life is about to change. When I get these results, it's going to change my life. Either I'm going to find out I'm going to be okay and I just have to put up with this for a while, or I'm going to find out this is going to change everything. I have some horrible disease, something incurable, and going to have to live with this forever. And I thought about all the times that major events in my life have changed me completely. And I thought it'd be fun to talk about. And
proceed.
I do find it a little odd or unfortunate that I made this topic for tonight because Trump is lighting shit up right now.
Well, you want to touch on that first, or you want to go for stuff?
Let's just touch on Trump real quick. I don't want to get into it too much because I don't know how many people have watched it, but Trump is delivering a speech before Congress right now. It's basically a State of the Union address. His first real State of the Union address won't be till next January.
Right.
But this is so far been a very red meat speech for Republicans. Lots of standing ovations from them. A couple of boos from the Democrats on a few things, especially his new voice program. It's going to be a department, I think he said, with Homeland Security, where people who are victims of immigrant crime, illegal immigrant crime, can get help. I'm not sure what help it is they're going to get. But that caused some boos from the Democrats and a lot of cheers from the Republicans. He talked about infrastructure rebuilding for jobs, rebuilding all our roads across the country. Lots of red meat stuff for them. And oh, I forgot to pause this video. But anyway, so far I think it'll be a really interesting speech. It's going to lead to a lot of videos we'll be responding to in the future.
Probably.
But with that out of the way, let's start with this. What's the first thing you remember? Your first loss of innocence? Was it the whole Santa thing?
My first loss of innocence.
The first time your world was just shattered.
The first time my world was shattered. God, I had been thinking about, like, much more tangible, memorable things, but the first
we'll get to those too.
Gosh, well, when you say my world is shattered, like so some I was under some illusion that was just like dispelled or something.
Yeah. Well, what I was thinking about with this topic is in the description, I actually put Santa or your first love that just completely broke your heart, but changed you, jaded you a little bit, maybe. Things that really, even to this day, even though whether you think about it too much or not, still kind of impact you. Like with the whole Santa thing, it tends to make people a little more cynical. You suddenly, that's the first time I remember not believing my parents anymore.
So, well, the first distinct memory I have of sort of making a maybe a course correction or something in my life.
Yeah.
I believe I was in second grade, and we were in gym, and we were doing like basketball, free throws or something. And how can I relay this without giving anything away about myself? So we were doing free throws, and I'm not athletic at all. I've never been athletic, but so second grade, and I'm sure my memory of how high the hoop was is much different than reality because I was only a little kid. But I did 3 in a row.
Oh.
And like boom, boom, boom. And my gym teacher was like, "Wow, that's really great." And I wasn't happy. I mean, I wasn't like I wasn't celebrating it or anything, and I don't remember. I'm not in that mind, of course. But he's looking at me. And he's like, "Why aren't you? Why do you look so serious?" Or and why so serious? But why aren't you? Why do you look so serious? And I'm again, I'm like what 6, 7, something like that, less than that. And I look up
Real
at my
quick,
gym. Oh yeah, sorry.
Laura, Laura, yes, you can. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I look at my gym teacher, and in my little kid voice, I look at him and says, "I don't want to become complacent."
Oh,
That's what came out of my mouth as a kid, and I don't remember the context exactly of like why I said that or how I had that in my vocabulary, but that's the word that I used. That's how I described it, what I was feeling at that moment to that teacher. And he looked shocked that I remember like that I would say something like that.
yeah,
But
second grader. That's some
yeah,
deep shit.
yeah, and I looking back on it, I've looked back on it and ever variously ever since then, because it even though I don't know what caused me to say it at the time exactly or what was going on in my head, the that sort of sentiment has really stayed with me. It's a matter of like I've talked about this before on some of the streams. It's like always being slightly skeptical of yourself and
Right,
not
right.
not taking things for granted, even or not assuming that you are in the right or something. So I guess I make 3 free throws in a row, and it's like, well, I don't want to assume that was skill or something like that. I don't know. So I don't know if it changed my life per se, but I think it was at least the first instance I can remember of sort of how my perspective on my life or the world in general sort of began, I suppose.
Do you have moments in your life that you can look back on and pinpoint very specific lessons you learned? And I'll give you an example from me. We were playing at Balboa Park in San Diego, and I was playing with this little girl, and the park was amazing. It had this huge jungle gym kind of thing with 5 or 6 different ladders that you crawled up to get into it. And me and her ran over to it, and we each got on a ladder. And I looked at her and I said, "I'll beat you up." And she started crying. And I was like, "Why are you crying?" I said, "I'll beat you up. I'll get to the top first."
Oh, beat you up. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And this girl went and told her mom on me that I was going to beat her up. And it was the first time
Oh.
I ever realized the power of words and saying the right
Mm.
thing. And I was like 5 at the time. But that is something that's still with me to this day because I learned a very valuable lesson.
The first thing that came to mind when you asked that, I had a best friend growing up. We, I mean, we're thick as thieves and everything through elementary school and onward. By the time we hit junior high, however, he had essentially decided that I was yesterday's news or I was like too nerdy or something because he wanted to sort of move up the social ladder or whatever.
Gotcha.
And so we kind of drifted apart, not because I wanted to, but because just he sort of like started hanging out with a better crowd or whatever. And at one point, he was Jewish and he went on sabbatical with his father for like 9 weeks or something. And as soon as he left, it was sort of the first time in several years that I had been without my best friend around. And I remember the day after he left, I was walking home from school, and I had a tendency to, and I still do have a tendency to sort of think out loud.
Oh, I do that myself.
Yeah, it helps make my thoughts more cohesive and sort of allows me to sort of game things out in the open, sort of rather than have them roll around in my head. And I remember saying to myself, as I was walking away, with the realization that it dawned on me that he was sort of like trying to divest himself of me, and B, he was going to be gone for an extended period of time. And I was walking home, and I said, "You've only got you to rely on. You can't. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, rely, I guess. You can't rely on him to." Uh, bolster your self-esteem or whatever, or your value or your sense of worth or something.
Have
And
Have you always lived in the same place, basically?
yes, I
Okay,
was yeah, my I was born and raised in the same town, and went to school less than a mile from my home for the first. Both the elementary school I went to and the junior high I went to were within walking distance of my home. It wasn't until I went to college that I really moved away from home for the first time.
gotcha. Okay, sorry, didn't mean
Yeah,
to
so
interrupt.
no, because but that was also an important factor because the fact that I was in one place the entire time, there was no like everybody knew who I was and I knew who everybody else was, and there was no sort of room to get out of the whatever stigma I had grown up with being sort of the shy, nerdy kid and everything. So it was sort of a social barrier because everybody was sort of in their category and had been put in their slot for years and years from being born. So
Yeah,
but having to sort of understand it's like, okay, you can't be a tag along anymore. You can't rely on him to, make you feel like you belong or something because he's gone now. So you're just going to have to figure things out on your own. So that was another sort of step into independence, I guess.
I, being a Navy brat, the first time I attended a school like that was when my dad retired and we moved to where we are now. And I remember we were in composition class, and teacher wanted to see how many times people had moved. And he asked
Mm.
everybody, raise your hand if you've moved once, and the whole hand, everybody's hand was up. And I finally got to put mine down at 21. By the time I was
Oh,
17, I'd
Jesus.
moved 21 times.
Holy cats.
So for me, somebody like that, that happened all the time because your friends moved away.
Hmm.
And one of the things I loved nerds growing up because when you were the new kid in school, they would be the ones who would talk to you first.
Right.
They had no other friends, so they would immediately latch on to you. And I
Hmm.
was usually pretty popular in school, but I never distanced myself from the nerds who I first met because I
Hmm.
appreciated the fuck out of them. How
Yeah.
old were you when you first fell in love?
Oh, God. Well, I guess it depends on
Let's go
which
with your
love.
teenage love, not real deep, get married kind of love.
Well, my teenage love was an unrequited love. My teenage
Oh,
my teenage love was the time where, for a very brief period of time, I became a stalker.
oh, nice.
And I don't mean,
Stalker Scribe.
yeah. So let me explain that because that sounds kind of insidious.
Yeah, it sounds like you had night vision goggles and
Yeah, no, it didn't quite get that complicated. I can look back on it now as sort of slightly embarrassing, but also very sort of informative headspace I ended up in. There was this girl in school, obviously, and uh, I interpreted things that were probably meant to be just friendly as flirting.
okay.
And this started in me this sort of emotional obsession over this girl. I never did anything like, follow her home or do anything weird. It was all very, like, on the surface, it was all very puppy love sort of infatuation stuff if you didn't know, but I mean if you didn't know otherwise. But inside my head, I was obsessed. I was just obsessed. Every waking moment was thinking about this girl and how could I impress her without sort of like creeping her out. And it went on for weeks. And inevitably she hooked up with some guy who was an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, this guy, you want to talk about juvenile delinquent. It was so cliche. You got like the sweet, well-meaning nerdy kid pining for the pretty girl, and she's like, oh, a bad boy. And it just ended in disaster, but my heart was absolutely shattered. And but I went through, as far as I can tell, I went through all of the mental phases of real like obsession slash stalker mentality. Even though I didn't follow through on any of it, I wasn't so crazy. I had the guts or the nutso to actually do anything about it
You didn't
outwardly.
like save her tissue or anything.
No, no, it didn't come anything like that. But looking, and thankfully, eventually, it faded, of course. But eventually, but looking back on it, I think about like I fell into that mindset for a very brief time, but I was in it completely. So when I hear stories about people becoming obsessed, or I see stories about stalkers and stuff, it's not that I can sort of necessarily relate to what they're doing, but I can kind of empathize a little bit with that being stuck in a perpetual cycle of thought on one thing,
Gotcha.
and how torturous that is, but also how um, inescapable it might be for people who don't have the the faculties to get out of it. So um, that was my first, I guess, teenage version of thinking about love. But I was always so, and hell, to a certain extent, still am relatively insecure about myself or my attractiveness or anything else like that. So I didn't really. I obsessed. Aside from the actual stalking thing, I was stuck on the concept of love and romance and everything, but there wasn't really anyone aside from that one girl that was ever a focus of mine, or that I ever had return that kind of feeling.
Gotcha. Okay. See, we've had very different lives. I
Mm-hmm.
I've always been insecure about my looks, but have always gotten compliments on them. And it comes from the fact that my older brother was very good looking and very outgoing, and I was always just the funny one. Um, but I never had a problem with girls. And I told you when I became 14, mom died, my older brother died, and I really came out of my shell. And
Mm.
I kind of had a reputation as a whore in high school, just a little bit. It was not fair. I only slept with three girls the whole time I was in high school. One woman,
three,
two girls.
three more than I did.
Um, but yeah, I was outgoing and very popular in high school. Um,
Mm. Yeah,
my
you were on the other side of the bell curve from me.
Well, even when I was younger than that, I did very well with the girls my age. I was just I was quiet about it. It was in the
Mm.
background where nobody saw.
Right.
Um, but yeah, my first love, oh God, probably was in fourth grade, and it was this little girl. I can still see her. It's same thing. I was too shy to ever actually talk to her. Um, but she was so cute, and I was so in love with her. And I remember this one day she was sitting in class, and there was this kid behind her who just started brushing her hair. And I didn't like the kid anyway, but when I saw him do that, I just wanted to beat the fuck out of him. Like, get your hands off my woman. um, I didn't. I did not beat him up for that. I did hit
Mm-hmm.
him for breaking something of mine once later on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, see, I'm fascinated by stories like that because these are the things that shape us later in life. Whether, like I said, whether we realize it or not, all of this builds up to where we are.
Well, if we want to, if you allow me to step back from teenage years briefly, I did actually have the first, I guess, love of my life when I was 4 or 5,
Aw,
and she was my best friend in the neighborhood. Um, I'm not going to use names or anything, but she was my best friend. And at one point, she and I decided together that we should get married.
oh, so
And
cute.
so we decided, and so we each went to our parents like, we want to get married. And I don't remember exactly how it came about, but we decided that we wanted to have a scary Mary. So she was done up in makeup to look like a zombie, and my mother took a brown paper bag that would fit on my head and cut out a little window thing and painted it and stuff to make it look like I had a Frankenstein head, like a squared off top.
Right.
And then we went out on my deck and we had a little ceremony where we had a scary Mary, and we got married. And there are pictures of this somewhere. It's I mean it's about as sort of teeth rottingly cute as you can imagine.
That
Um,
is one of the
yeah,
cutest things I've ever heard.
yeah, it was quite the event that I recall. It's very fuzzy because I was very young, but um, yeah, I there was that. There was a time where I was walking back to class with the rest of my class, and I was in, I think, first or second grade, and some little girl ran up to me and just smooched me on the face like 3 times, and I didn't know what to do. I was just like, she was so happy to have done it, and then she was just like running away and giggling, and I like, and I like, I don't know. So I had very limited romantic experience until I got to college. And within 3 months of being in college, I became president of the bondage club.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
damn!
a
You came out of your shell
longer
hard.
story. That's a longer story. That's a much more involved story. I may relay it at some point, like on a charity stream or something. I'll tell the whole story for somebody donating money to something. But
So are you
yeah,
like the inspiration for Christian Grey?
God, you know, I so not to get too far off on a tangent here, but when I honestly was the president of a school, well, certified in the sense that it got backing from the school and everything, BDSM discussion group club. And we'd go we'd have weekly meetings, and one week we'd have some sort of like demonstration of how to do XYZ safely. Um, with all the clothes on, of course, and everything. It wasn't
Hmm.
in a classroom and such. And then another week, the alternate week, we'd have like a discussion about something about the lifestyle or whatever else. And we had people come to us. We got the same advertising as in any other club. I got some funny stories about that too. But we had people come to the club or to the meetings that were scared that they were sick. They were scared that there was something wrong with them. There was this one girl who was like, you know, my mother used to beat me with the back of a brush and would to punish me, but I think I like it. And she was like, I mean,
Oh,
this girl looked like she was about 2 steps away from falling apart when she was like admitting this to the whole, 8 or 9 of us that were there. And we were like, no, it's okay. I mean, if that's what makes you happy, there's nothing to feel ashamed. I mean, we I won't go into every story, but we had people come to us that honestly needed sort of guidance or needed some notion that they weren't broken or whatever, and we help people through this. And then I look at things like 50 Shades of Grey. And yes, it's cheap, bad writing. I mean, first off, as an English major, it just about melts my brain to know that thing exists. Well, not that it exists, but that it became so fucking popular. But then I look at the portrayal of what is decidedly not a healthy power exchange lifestyle, and I'm just like, God, if there wasn't already a weird stigma over this, which is
oh,
lessened over
right.
the years, this is the last thing that real practicing. I mean, the the motto of the sane practitioner, so to speak, of BDSM is safe, sane, and consensual.
Yeah,
And
and
you look at
Christian Grey was a
yeah,
fucking stalker
yeah,
lunatic.
yeah. And so even though I'm not involved in any sort of like organized group like that anymore, I just think back if that book had come out when I was trying to hold a club together, if that's what people thought that, I mean, the whips and chains and stuff already had a bad rep as it was a taboo subject to begin with. If that book had come out back then and everybody thought that's what we were up to or that's what kind of people we were, I don't even know what I would have done. Yeah. So 50 Shades of Grey in so many ways is just something that I find really annoying.
I don't know if you've been watching chat, but somebody said that they bet this is going to devolve into movie chat. For the record, we're talking about the book right now.
Yes, we're talking about the book. Well, not talking about the book so much as just my opinion of the portrayal of certain attitudes and lifestyle choices that the book gives out, but that's something else.
Well, I think that's actually a very important topic, especially in this, because so many of us are shaped by our experience as a child, and I have the
Mm,
opposite of that girl. I was
mm,
spanked so much as a child, I don't find it sexy at all,
mm.
not even a little bit. Um, I'll do it if somebody wants it, but I'm like, it, it's sad, is what it is.
Oh,
Are you single right now?
oh yes. I say
Okay.
I say oh yes because there's a couple of the stories I was going to tell in relation to this thing. Will probably explain why a little bit because I'm a bit of a neurotic, but
Well, I was just going to say, because there's always women in chat, so
oh,
it,
I know.
you're
There's
single, and we're putting this out there that maybe somebody will like that.
hey,
Um,
Thoggy's here. I don't mean that as in relation to what you just said. I'm just saying Foggy's here.
um, there was another specific point I was going to bring up.
Hmm.
Oh God, what was it? Oh, is there any certain thing that triggers like instant memories for you? Not movies, because apparently we're not allowed to talk about those.
Mm-hmm.
Like a certain song that takes you back immediately
Yes.
to any point.
Yes. Well, the first thing comes to mind: "Sunshine, Lollipops, Rainbow Candy." That song, you know that one.
Hmm.
Da, 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 we're together. Um, that song suddenly played over the speaker at the um, what was it? I think it was like a clothing store or whatever.
Hmm.
When I was having uh, sex with my girlfriend at the time, and we were
Nice.
being all hot and everything, and all of a sudden, "Sunshine Lollipops" starts playing, and we just can't be serious. We start laughing our asses off.
Yeah,
And
that's not a good. That's not a good romantic
no,
song.
it's not a good romantic song, but it did become an inside joke and that kind of thing. Otherwise, there's a cologne. I don't even know the name of it, but
Mm,
there's a cologne that my grandfather wore, and once in a while, it was just passing and like somewhere, and it's exceedingly rare. I'll catch a whiff of it somewhere, or like I have his old robe, and it's pretty much faded now. But if I take a moment and sniff it, there might still be some tiny whiff of it or something. But it's a very comforting smell because my grandfather was like the I always looked at him as the cowardly lion, not because he was cowardly, because he looked like that, and he was rough and he's tough. And he was a very he was a
after
merchant
he gets his
marine.
courage.
Yeah, I mean, he used to own a bar. He had a bat underneath the bar, and he'd take guys out if they weren't behaving nicely. He was a big teddy bear. I miss him, but he had a really distinct smell to him, and I don't even know if it was one thing or a combination of things. But if I ever get that, I get a little sentimental. Yeah.
For me, it's any song by Air Supply.
Okay.
When all of our school dances played them, but we also used to have a neighborhood dance every Friday, and pretty much that's all we would play because we were all white kids who couldn't dance, so we would all slow dance.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, that's where I learned to love a woman in a sweater. At the time, it was a girl
Oh.
in a sweater.
Mm.
Um, I still remember her name. I can still see her. She was wearing this white sweater, turtleneck, very fluffy thing, and
Sweater
really tight.
twins.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
um, really tight little blue jeans on her, long dark black hair. Oh,
Oh.
um, but we weren't even really friends. Our parents were,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow we ended up matched up for this dance, and
Aha.
that, like I said, that's the power of the sweater was right there.
Mm.
And anytime I hear a song, that's where I go right back to.
Yeah, there's a lot of songs that have my sister and I, whenever we have to drive somewhere and go visit the folks or something, we just like play songs that we know from way back when, and we're very musical in that way, and we have a lot of songs that have a sentimental meaning, or just there's things we just like to sing together in the car. There's this one, I don't even remember what caused it, but there's this one spot on the way to visiting my folks where it's I I don't even know why I did it, but we get to this one spot like on the first time we ever made the trip, and I was doing the California Love impersonation of that like voice box thing.
Hmm.
California, that thing. And every time we come to that spot in the trip, she looks at me, and I just have to do that one part. Like it's like a little ritual now. It's hilarious.
That's nice. That's see, that's the kind of cool memory I like. Those
Hmm.
are the those are the ones that shape us. Um, okay, I'm running out of things on this topic, so we can go anywhere you want from here
Well,
except
so
movies.
when you said life changing moments,
Yeah.
um, there's two things came to mind, and the first one's relatively cliche, I guess, these days, but it's still absolutely true, and that's 9/11.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
I was I and my little story. I mean, there's so much you can say about it, but my little story was I was visiting home from college, and I was in my old bedroom, which was essentially bare down to the carpet because, well, I didn't live there anymore, and I was sleeping on an air mattress because I think my folks had I think all my furniture was back up in college, and I just had a room. So I'm sleeping when this is all going on, and I think it was, 10 in the morning or something where I was, and um, my mother comes into the room, and she's white as a sheet. I mean, I've never seen her that sort of just zombified, scared before.
Hmm.
And I wake up and I look at her and I say, "What's wrong?" And she says, in this sort of like distant, lifeless voice, she says, "They blew up the Pentagon and the Twin Towers." And I just kind of sit there for a second, and I swear to God, these are the first words out of my mouth. Well, it took them long enough.
Oh
I didn't
yeah.
know I didn't know what the situation was exactly. I didn't know what had just happened. All I knew is that she said, and my first reaction was it took them long enough. And the reason I said that was that I had a notion even then that we had been relatively lucky in people doing horrible things. Now, I still remember, obviously, the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center that most people forget about. There was
Right.
an
Yeah.
attempt to blow up the World Trade Center in 93. So it wasn't exactly unprecedented. However, as far as some major attack or something, we've been relatively clean for, I don't know, decades. You had
Yeah.
one thing here and there, but nothing major. But
And nothing from the outside really, except for 93.
right. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. We had like Oklahoma City in '96 and all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. But actual, foreign-based terrorism was a relative rarity here. But I mean, I recall that there didn't a week go by that I didn't hear about some bombing in the Middle East or some nightclub in Israel being suicide bombed or shot up or something. So
Hmm.
the idea that we had been relatively immune to this to that point seemed to me like a minor miracle. And so when my mom walks in, and now, of course, like I said, at that point, I had no idea of the extent of what was going on. But my first reaction to it was, well, it took them long enough. And then, of course, as I got up and watched the TV, my entire sense of reality was shattered. I think everybody became on that day. I think everybody became a little bit more American, if you know what I mean, which
Well,
was inevitably abused and manipulated. But for that brief time, there was a tragic sense of unity.
that is the only time I have ever shed a tear over a news story.
Mm,
And it was entirely involuntary. It was as the second tower came down, I was just overwhelmed. Like, I'm watching so many people die right now.
mm. Now,
Um,
the only time I freaked out over a news story was Sandy Hook.
mm,
I heard that story on the radio and I just started shouting. I was just standing here in my room. I just started shouting like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" Because when I heard it was like a bunch of little kids, I just lost it.
mhm.
I just lost it. But anyway, sorry.
For me, my first one like that was actually Reagan getting shot.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, I was home watching the news. I don't remember who was babysitting. I think it was my sister. The reason it stood out to me and still does is because at that moment I didn't realize what the word bitch meant, but I realized what a bitch my mom could be. Um, because she came home and I told her, I said, "Mom, somebody shot the president," and her reaction, I swear to God, was good. And
mm,
I was like, I don't know how to deal with that. Because what
wow.
was that in 82?
I believe so.
Around there. Yeah. So I'm
81
six
or
or
82. Yeah.
yeah, I'm 6 or 7 at the time. So
Hmm.
that's some deep shit to drop on a 6-year old.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that was a moment I realized my mom was not perfect. But yeah, I'm 41.
Right.
41 years old. So yeah, I've been around a while. What was your other one?
Oh, the other one is sort of a combo because it was sort of a repeat of the same thing happening twice. I had my first like live-in serious relationship. Well, first I should say that I was dumb and I dated someone who was far younger than I was, not in like an illegal sense, but like I was 26 and she was 19.
Mm,
Not a good choice, but I was stupid and quote unquote in love and everything. And we were living together for about a year and a half. And I probably within a couple of months or something, of probably asking her to marry me and all that. And then I just come home one day and she just says she's got this, scared look on her face, and we have quote unquote the talk, and she just needs space, and she da 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 da.
yeah.
And so, she's packing up and she's leaving within the next couple of days or whatever. And then I find out a week later that she had moved in with a friend of mine.
Oh, nice.
And so that was bad. Now, he wasn't a super duper good friend of mine, but he was someone we both knew mutually and someone I had never, I hung out with socially and stuff and didn't have any problem with. But apparently there was some other thing going on, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so my world was absolutely destroyed. I didn't know who to trust and all that fun stuff. About a year and a half, these things always seem to go in like a year and a half cycles. About a year and a half later, I started dating another girl. And we were together for a year and a half. And then she goes off on a trip to Bermuda or something with her parents, and she comes back, and I hadn't seen her in like a week or 2 weeks or something, and so she comes home, we have a night together, quote unquote. I get up in the morning, go off to work, I love you, come home, and she's packed up,
Oh, fuck.
and she needs her space. I mean, it was. I swear to God, it was like deja vu all over again. I need my space, da, 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 and I tried to be stiff off her lip about it. It's like, okay, well, she wasn't as young as the previous girlfriend, but she was younger than me, and so I'm still heartbroken, I'm still upset and everything, but I'm trying to tough my way through it. And my best friend at the time, he was trying to be comforting and all that, and yeah, and about a month later, he dropped on me that yeah, she moved in with him.
What a dick.
And yeah, it was. I could go on for a long time about all the bullshit that occurred, but it was um, the second time around was 4 times as bad because not only had she lied to me, but he had been lying to me. People that I knew otherwise had been keeping secrets from me on their behalf
Oh,
to try
yeah.
to protect my feelings. I was shattered. Now you got to for anybody who hasn't already heard this sob story or any, otherwise, I've had depression and anxiety problems since in my early 20s. So you take these situations where I got completely blindsided by people I trusted implicitly. You have a girlfriend who it was rough because the fact and like there was a big point of contention with between me and her for a long time over this was like I told her, I said, if I had slept with you and dumped you the next day, I would be on everyone's blacklist, and
Oh, yeah.
I would have deserved it. I mean, I told her, I said, I can't use the word rape, obviously, but I sure as hell feel violated. You violated. I mean, I'm not promiscuous. I don't take anybody into bed just because I have the opportunity. I've never been quite that way. I just don't operate like that. If
Hmm.
I'm in bed with you, I have a certain amount of trust with you that I don't have for most other people. And so that was a big thing too. But then yeah, like I was destroyed. I didn't know who to trust. I questioned my own. I still do question my own ability to read people or to invest my emotions or faith in people. And that's and having it happen twice in a row. It's like, well, didn't I learn my lesson the first time, or am I just that dumb? And
We need to
that's
fight you a good
yeah,
stalker chick.
yeah. Well,
Somebody
I
who's going to
had
be
one.
just dedicated to you.
I had one briefly, but it was a bad decision because it was and
Because you
this
never stick your dick in crazy.
no, it wasn't that. It was this person is, as far as I can tell to this moment, the love of my life.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, it was a situation where everybody knew what was going on, but I was the official boyfriend, and her husband knew all about it.
Oh,
Yeah, I was the permitted extra man. And originally it was just supposed to be sort of a fun, recreational, whatever you want to call it thing.
but you're not that kind of person.
I I thought I was, or I thought I could be, just for the sake of not feeling completely like a hermit.
Right, right.
But inevitably, she and I, and again, as far as I can tell, which of course means that I don't know 100% for sure. As far as I could tell, she and I fell in love, like super duper, like hardcore.
Hmm.
That went beyond just sort of the physical stuff. But inevitably, I'm the third wheel. And so when it came down to husband being jealous, it's an obvious conclusion to what happens. And I knew that going into it, but of course, you put on blinders because you feel something greater than you think is yourself and all that. And so that ended not because either of us wanted it to, but because it had to. She was married, she had two kids. It wasn't going to work.
If
And
you keep this
yeah,
up, I'm gonna have to use my catchphrase.
uh-oh, yeah, I know. No, well, hey, you and me both.
Right, right.
Yeah, and so and that's been that's been a tough one to deal with because it wasn't like I was betrayed. It's not like we fell out of love or anything else like that. It was just
Had to end.
it had to end. And when it came down to it, I could go on for a long time about this, but because of these chain of events where I made some poor decisions in who I, sort of gave my heart to, and then to have a real, true, as far as I can tell, love essentially stonewalled away against both of our choice. I'm kind of stuck. Not to
Yeah.
not to turn this into the monkey therapist stream or anything, but that's pretty much where I've been for the last couple of years.
Are they still together?
Yes, as far as I know, yes. Of course, hope springs eternal, but no. Yeah.
I say you give me their names. I'll break them up. I'm a
Yeah,
good
no,
friend.
yeah. No, if any sane person would have dropped him like a bad habit a long time ago for various reasons. Not because he was like abusive or something, but because he was just an absolute waste of space. But
Ah,
he was the father of her children. He was her husband. She is very old fashioned in some ways, where it's like, I will make the self sacrifice to keep my family content kind of thing, even to the point of, and and again, this is all from my perspective. I'm not inside her head. I can, only observe what I observe, but it was very, uh, to me, it was self-destructive sort of notion of loyalty and stick to itiveness and everything. But yeah, again, like I say, I was the third wheel, so I can't expect anything more.
right, right.
But
Okay, I don't
anyway,
even know where to go from here.
aside from that, Mrs.
Maybe
Lincoln,
we
how was the play?
no shit. Say maybe we do need to talk movies. Pump this
Yeah,
up a little bit.
I brought it down. I'm sorry.
No, no, you're fine.
No, I'm kidding.
Man, that's fucked up.
That's and life changing and nostalgia. That's you know what nostalgia originally meant or was originally coined for.
No.
That's what they called PTSD before they knew what PTSD was.
Oh,
Yeah, that was the term they used to describe soldiers having problems after coming back from war or while they were in war and having psychological issues. They called it nostalgia in the sense that they thought at the time it was a super strong yearning to go home, like homesick, like supreme homesickness. They called it nostalgia. And I always thought that was interesting.
that is that because it fits.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that is just so fucked up. I want to go find this guy, get the shit out of him for you.
It's a long story, but I'm not going to tell it. I mean, I've already told enough. I've already told enough. Yeah, it's an even longer. That was the Reader's Digest version.
Okay, give me a happy memory from your childhood. Do you have
A
any?
happy memory from my childhood. Okay, when I was 3 or 4, for Christmas, I wanted Castle Grayskull.
Oh, nice.
Because He-Man was the shit. And so I was like, I want Castle Grayskull. And my parents were not in a financial position to be very generous at that point in time. So
Gotcha.
my father, he took a cardboard box, painted it grayish green, cut out a drawbridge and used string on it, painted a skull-like face on it, made little flags out of toothpicks and pieces of paper, cut out the back of the box so I could like have my action figures in there and all that. And that was my 4-year-old Castle Grayskull, and it was the greatest thing ever. I was so happy when I finally got the real Castle Grayskull. It just didn't compare.
Right,
And
yeah.
so yeah, it was the greatest thing ever having we call it the 4-year-old Castle Grayskull versus the 6-year-old Castle Grayskull or whatever it was. And yeah, so that was a happy memory.
Yeah, see, I grew up very poor, being a Navy brat, and except for the one I told you about yesterday, when the family house burned down, most of our Christmases were very they weren't bad. We were just did not get the latest and greatest toys.
Mm-hmm.
But I still loved them. Even other than my Voltron that I got the year with the house burning down, most of my favorite toys were ones that I hadn't even asked for, things I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even realize I wanted.
What
I
was
think
your? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think that's the real fun of Christmas that for me now as a dad and a granddad is looking for those kind of things, because those were always the ones that I liked best.
Mm-hmm.
What were you gonna ask?
What was your favorite meal?
Um,
I have an answer to this question, but I don't know if anybody else has like a significant like a meal that was of significance. Not like what's your
uh,
favorite food.
right, right. Christmas at uh, my mom came from an abusive home, and she ended up in foster care. And the person I knew as my grandfather, the guy I'm named after, is not my real grandfather. But we always called him, that was granddad. And Christmas at his house was awesome. He used to make ham, and he would marinate it in Jack Daniels.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's really fucking good. Um, but I remember just loving going to their house for Christmas dinner.
I was on a train trip south headed to California at one point way back when, and I think in my early teens, maybe like 13 or 14, for like a family reunion or something it was. And as we're going down south, the sun is setting behind the mountains. We're in the dinner car. I have the very first time I'd ever had prime rib,
Mm.
mashed potatoes, green beans, and for dessert a chocolate eclair, which I'd never had before. And just the motion of the train, the scenery outside, the food was the most delicious I'd ever had. It seemed like it. And then the chocolate eclair was like just the icing on the cake, no pun intended. And it was just like the most perfect set of circumstances you could have to have a really good meal with your family. And ever since then, I get a chocolate eclair on special occasions, like if something really amazing happens or something, or I do something really good or something, I'll get a chocolate eclair to sort of celebrate.
Yeah, we didn't get to have many of those Christmases that I remember because we ended up moving away. So
Mm-hmm.
so I only remember maybe two of them. But I also remember they were the first people I ever knew who had recliners, and we weren't
Oh,
allowed to sit in them. But
my turn.
I would play with the little lever and always pop it up, and my mom would yell at me. And because I'm the only grandchild who uses Grandpa's name, I was allowed to get away with anything I wanted.
Oh, okay.
I this is a true story. I did not talk until I was 2 years old because they spoiled me so bad. I would point and Grandpa would go get me what I wanted. I have cousins who have his name, but it's like their middle name.
Yeah.
But I am the only one who uses it. So yeah, I was spoiled. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, we moved away when I was 7, and I never got to see him again.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all right. I I have so many of those I never got to see him again stories
Hmm.
that I wouldn't say I'm jaded to it, but it has helped me adapt. Like when my dad died last year, I was absolutely devastated for 2 days,
Hmm.
and the training kicks in. Still miss him, but moving past.
Is completely unrelated. You're starting to robot a little bit. Your
Oh,
voice.
sorry.
I know. I mean, I don't know if it's I don't know maybe it's your bandwidth rating or something, but you're doing fine for quite a while. Then you started just here and there. You start fading out and roboting. I
No,
don't
of
know if
course.
I don't know if the audience can hear it, but I can hear it.
Well, I for those of you who don't know, I am rendering a video at the moment too, because I
Oh, that's right. Maybe that's it. Okay.
so that might have fucked it up. Hopefully, if you hear it again, let me know. We'll just stop that for now, and I'll finish it later.
Yeah.
Do-do-do-do-do.
It's
Yep,
not
yep.
debilitating. It was just happening a little bit. I wasn't sure if it was something else going on.
Do-do-do-do-do. We can hear it. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Sorry.
My computer is a piece of shit, and if it gets too bogged down, things like that will happen. Sorry.
If you want Monkey to have a better time of it, there's a little $sign button there at the bottom of the chat.
Yeah, hit the shit out of that.
Yeah, hit the
I
shit
need
out
a
of
new
that.
computer.
He needs a new computer. Baby needs a new pair of shoes. Come on.
I really do. It's something I'm going to have to. I'm putting it off as long as I can, um, but I'm pushing these things to the max. And my desktop is even worse than my laptop.
Why are they talking about the Buggles in chat? Are we video killing the radio star all of a sudden?
Yeah, somebody said that in there.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
Upgrade
That was
cracker.
the very first video played on MTV.
For the record, I don't accept the term cracker. I am a honky.
That's racist. I need absinthe. I had absinthe at it was an absinthe bar down in New Orleans one time, man. And I hadn't had absinthe maybe except for once before. The lady down there, damn, she knew how to make absinthe. That was the smoothest shit I ever had.
I've never had it, and here's one of the things with my MRI that I'm waiting on.
Mm-hmm.
If it comes out the way I'm dreading it will, I will never be able to have alcohol again.
Oh, damn, dude.
Yeah, because I will be on these pain drugs for the rest of my life.
Well,
And
I guess you better become either a Mormon or a Muslim, then at least it'll fit.
let's see. Mormon, no thanks. I don't like the whole hole in the sheet thing.
Oh, I thought that was like super duper fundamentalist Jewish that did that.
The Mormons
magic
do it
underwear
too.
I know is the Mormon thing. I didn't know about the hole in the sheet thing. I thought that was a Judaism thing.
The hardcore Mormons. I have a friend who
Okay.
is really into. She's not a member. She's just incredibly fascinated by it. And
Okay.
She sat there one night for like 3 hours telling me all about it and sending me links. I'm like, I don't want to see this shit. I don't care.
Yeah. Did I tell you the story of the missionaries that came to my door one time?
No.
So I live in relatively close proximity to a Mormon temple. And once in a blue moon, I'll have a couple of people come to my door wanting to, give me the good news. And this one time, at least the last time, they might have just nixed me off their list completely after this. Knock on the door. I go to the door, and there are two. I guess I want to say boys. I mean, for the lack of a better word, I'm guessing they were late teens, early 20s, maybe. I'm really bad at guessing ages, but anyway, because it's relevant to the story, one of them was a redheaded white kid, and the other one was like Indian, and I'm talking like dot, not feather.
Okay.
And when I say that, people get pissed, like that's racist. Like, no, I have to make the distinction because if you don't make the distinction, you know what I'm talking about.
It's an easy way to describe it. Yeah,
it is. I've gotten like evil looks by people before when I've used that phrase. They're like, that's it. I'm like, oh, shut up. Anyway, so they come to the door and I know exactly what they're there for and everything else. And then I look at them before they really say anything. I say, oh, guys, you're better off just walking away and saving yourself and me some time. And they're like, why is that? I say, oh, because I'm an atheist. And the redheaded kid says, but why? And I'm like, you don't ask a question you don't already know the answer to, counselor. Okay. So I looked at him, I said, okay, part of the reason is, as far as your religion is concerned, is up until about just the year before I was born, your friend over there, and I point to the Indian kid, would not have been allowed to reach any higher than maybe a deacon in your church because he's a Lamanite. And when I said Lamanite, their eyes widened like I knew the secret code or something. And do you know what a Lamanite is?
I don't.
Okay, so there are two classifications. And I'm not, and for the record, I'm not claiming to be an expert on Mormon lore or anything, but this is my general understanding of it. The Nephites and the Lamanites. The Nephites were sort of God's chosen, and the Lamanites were the dark-skinned devil's children.
Oh, okay.
That is my high level broad understanding. I'm sure somebody in the chat knows this stuff much more than I do, but that's my broad level understanding of it. But either way, because he was a Lamanite and the Mormon Church was an officially racist organization up until about 1978 or something, when they had a revelation that, of course, just happened to coincide with the possibility of being sued by the U.S. government over that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I looked at him. I said, because your friend here could have, because he's a Lamite, and they just freaked out, and the Indian kid got like really dour all of a sudden. I looked at him. I said, look, I'm sorry, but it's absolutely true. Your church was a racist organization, and still in your book it says the same thing. It's not like they edited your Bible. And I looked at the other kid and I said, and the other thing is that I looked, I said, how old are you? And I think he said like he was like 23 or something, and I was 33 or something at the time. And I said, here's the thing. I have struggled over the course of my life to be the best person I can be. I've had my ups, I've had my downs, but ultimately at this moment, I think I'm a pretty good person. I have a conscience. I do as good as I can, etc. I've worked really hard to make myself a good person. If lightning struck both of us dead right now, by the terms of your religion, no matter how much effort I had put into becoming a good person, having 10 years on you, I still wouldn't get in because I don't agree with the way you think God is. I'd still be just not as good as you simply on the basis of what you think versus what I think. And that's a notion that I just can't really get behind. And that's basically where it all ended. And they handed me a copy of their book, and I was like, okay, fine.
I have three stories for you about people coming to my door. The
Mm.
first one, after mom died, I was kind of an asshole, a little chip on my shoulder. She was cremated because we moved around. We were still, Navy brats. She wasn't buried anywhere. We kept the ashes with us. And this salesman came to the door one day when I was playing a video game and interrupted my game. And I tried ignoring the door, and he kept knocking. So finally, I paused my fucking game. I go answer the door.
Oh, I have to interrupt real quick. You got a $5 donation from PC Robot.
I saw. I told
Oh,
him
did
thank you
you?
in the chat.
Oh, did you? I missed it. Oh, I sorry. I apologize. I thought I was watching the chat for you. Never mind.
No, please keep doing because I
Okay.
never know when this is going.
Okay.
But so I get to the door and there's a salesman there, and in a very condescending tone, I'm 14, but by the time I was 14, I was 6 foot tall, pretty much as big as I am now. And this fucking asshole actually said to me, "Little boy, is your mom home?" I'm like, okay, yes, she is. Come on in. And I took him over to his ashes, and I said, or to her ashes, I, there she is.
Oh, jeez.
And he just kind of turned on his heel and left. Um, he deserved that. He was a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Plus, he interrupted my game. Then this was after I was married and we're living in an apartment, and this little girl comes, knocks on our door, and she's holding her little Bible, and she goes, "I just wanted to talk to you about your relationship with Jesus Christ." And I said, "I don't have one."
Mm.
And her face just got this really quizzical look, and she says, "And you're okay with that?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine with it." And I think I broke her because again, she clutched her Bible really tight, turned
Yeah.
around, and we were on a second floor. She walks down the stairs, and I go over to the window, and she walks all the way back to her apartment in that same manner, like somebody has just broken her world.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one, it's in the house we live in now. This lady knocks on my door, and I answer it, and she's got two kids with her, and she starts going into a Bible spiel, and I'm like, "Stop." I said, "We are not going to have this conversation." She
Mm-hmm.
goes, "Why not?" I said, "Because your children are here, and I know your book better than you." Thank you again. Um, I am not saying that. I am not saying I like me some chicks with dicks on stream.
Oh, ba-dum-bum.
But she insisted she would not leave me alone until I ripped into her about the story of the man with the loosened shoe.
The
Because for
Man
me,
with the Golden Shoe sounds like a spy novel.
do you not know this Bible story? It's one of the greatest Bible stories ever.
Uh,
Back
it
in
doesn't
the
ring
Old
a bell.
Testament,
Mm-hmm.
it says that if your brother dies and he's married, you have to marry his wife.
I remember that tradition, yes.
And if you don't, she can take you to the town square where she will untie your shoes, spit on you, and you will forever be known as the man with the loosened shoe.
That's news to
And
me. I'd never heard that story before.
when I was 14, after mom died, I had my crisis of faith. I sat down and read the Bible cover to
Mm.
cover. And when I got to that part, I was like, no, no, that makes fucking no. And if you get into the New Testament, Jesus was actually asked about it. So this is something that happened because Jesus, soul goes on. That's when
Mm.
divorce became, or couldn't divorce anymore.
Right.
Because before that, you could do whatever you wanted because fuck, you were dead.
Right.
Ashes to ashes. So yeah, they asked him about the man with the loosened shoe, and he tells us it's just a parable. And I'm like, what is the parable?
Right.
What's the lesson?
Because that's awfully specific to be a parable.
It's yeah, very specific. Untie your shoe and spit on you. And I laughed so hard at that part. And I'm explaining to her, like, this makes no goddamn sense. This is what Jesus said about it. And I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to. I try not to in front of kids because they're not my kids.
Right.
But if you insist, we're gonna have it out. I don't push my atheism, my agnosticism, whatever however you'd say
Yes,
that. I don't push it on people.
It's fine.
Oh shit! Somebody said robot monkey's back.
What's that mean? Oh no, you're not. Well, at least from my end, you're not sounding that bad. You're understandable. It's just the occasional click and whistle here.
Damn it! Yeah, I turned that off, so it's probably just having a slow coming down.
You could adjust your bandwidth a little bit. That might help. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll check that.
Turn it down a notch or two. See if that does anything.
Anyhow, so we did that. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go? What else do we want to talk about tonight?
Let's see. What else?
Should we take questions we'll eventually stop listening to?
Sure, because maybe a question will send us off. I mean, heaven forfend, somebody else's question send us off into a tangent.
Right.
All right, it's question time, right, everybody.
This is your chance to ask a question. The first questions usually get answered.
And if the first question is say something nasty on the stream, I'll probably do it. But but any money you put up for me to do that is going to go to the monkey. So by all means, do that if you want to get me to say something stupid. What was your worst fashion disaster? Worst fashion disaster. Oh, I decided I wanted to be, for Halloween when I was very young, a black cat. For whatever reason, I was raised by cats, so I wanted to be a black cat. So, for Halloween, I had to wear this black leotard, and it was the dumbest thing ever. I got a picture of me, and I was like, "Why did I do that?" I look like an absolute gimp.
For me, it was having my hair done like, oh God, I'm admitting this publicly, like Vanilla Ice.
Oh shit, son!
Luckily, there's only
got the
one
Robert
picture
Van
of that.
Winkle treatment.
I did, yes.
Oh.
Yes. I looked ridiculous.
Oh, I've always had the same. My dad was military, and so I've always had the same haircut. I've very rarely varied from center line when it comes to just how I look. I dress very plainly, even though I'm an absolute freak on the inside, obviously.
Favorite song would be very, very hard for me because I love so many.
Yeah.
Right now, the one that I listen to repeatedly is "Landing in London" by Three Doors Down. Anytime I'm bored, I'll throw that on and just put it on repeat.
Right now, the song that pops into my head for whatever reason is Robert Palmer's "Simply Irresistible."
Oh yeah, good one. Plus the video. I mean,
well, yeah, the video with all the which would never be allowed to be made today, practically, probably.
No.
Monkey, will you come to New Zealand and have a beer?
Yeah, if I can ever get there.
What else we got? What was your first car?
My first car was a 1979 Dodge Aspen. It's a car most people have never even heard of, and it was a piece of shit. I
have never owned a car, so I don't have a car.
You don't have a car?
Nope. I have been a professional pedestrian my entire life.
Damn. Do you ride bike?
Nope. I'm a footman. A bus if I have to, and cab if it's a little bit too far. Otherwise, I'm there's a story behind why I don't drive. It's not because nothing legal entanglement or anything, just basically psychological trauma. So. Oh,
gotcha. Okay.
Which is yeah, don't ask me stories about my life. It's all very depressing. It's all like, so Scribe, why is it that you do X, Y, Z? Well, you see, there was that time when this guy died. Like, oh.
You could be a Lifetime movie.
Shit, not a Lifetime movie. Jesus, at least make me a Skinamax movie.
Oh, there you go. Well, I don't know how many boobs there are in your life.
Not too many, but those that were high quality.
About the Dodge Aspen, here's a great story about what a shitty car that was. We went to Virginia where my wife's family still lived after we moved up here, shortly after my daughter's birth in that car. And the route we chose took us through the mountains in West Virginia. And there were parts of the climb of those mountains where the car literally would not go above 5 miles an hour. Floored,
Okay.
and it would not go above 5 miles. It was such a
Ah,
piece of shit.
was this American engineering? Uh-oh.
I'm good.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You were right.
Oh,
Say, okay. I did now. My out here is that I don't understand any of what I'm about to say because I don't know the context. But for the sake of the $5 you've just put towards the Monkey Computer Fund, um, I would love to fuck Troy of Very Nearly Viral while Lacey records and Thoggy beats it.
thank you for the donation, and thank you for saying it.
Yeah.
Which Lacey? Are we talking Lacey Green?
I was about to say Lacey Green because I know who Thoggy is. I don't know who Troy from Very Nearly Viral is, but
I
maybe.
know the Very Nearly Viral guys. I don't know which one's which.
Okay. PC Robot has just got a lot of money to burn, apparently.
And God bless him for it.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever God you believe in.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite sayings too, is telling people whatever God you believe in.
Yeah. Pray to whatever God you believe in. Who is Thoggy? Well, Thoggy is someone who has posted comments in the same chat you're in just a few seconds ago. So he's a YouTuber. You should go check out his channel. There he is. Let's see. I don't see any many questions coming on here.
I know we usually get so many we can't keep up.
I know. Ask it.
You know what? We've trained them that we're not going to answer, so
Yeah,
we burned them too many times.
Yeah, try. Hey, here's one if you're really bored. Just for the sake of trying to fight back against my early onset Alzheimer's, give me a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon to try to beat.
See, you're going to movies. You're going to get us in trouble.
It's like I have some base programming, and when nothing else is going on, I run right to it. So if I can't think of something else, dogs or cats? Cats.
Barbara Eden.
What was the question?
For 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Oh, Barbara Eden. Oh, that's a good one. Jeez. God. See, I can remember the faces of the actors, but I'm not good with the names that far back because she had. Oh no, that was Bewitched. Oh, I'm sorry. I take it back. That was Bewitched.
The only movie I know she was in was
I was about to say, did she do any movies because she's a
she was in
actress.
Harper Valley PTA.
Oh God. Okay. you stumped me. I don't know. Television actors, that's a tough one for me. Yeah, you won. That was easy.
The drunkest I've ever been. Oh God. We were actually at a 2-story bar, or I don't know why you put a bar on a second story. And we were at a friend's college graduation. And I've never got so drunk that I blacked out, but that's the only time I've ever vomited. When they had a live band there, and when I left, they actually came over to me and thanked me for being such an enthusiastic fan. And I don't remember any of their songs. When they would play, I would sing and scream along. And my friend had to help me down the stairs to get out of the bar, which I almost fell down. And we walked over to the car, and as soon as I got to the door, I just threw up everywhere.
Ugh.
And I was basically mainlining tequila that night.
Oh, that sucks.
Your turn.
Oh, what am I supposed to say? My drunk story?
Drunkest you've ever been?
Drunkest I ever been? Let's see. It was in college. It was what is my phone beeping at me for? Oh, it's 8:00. Okay. It was a half glass of sangria and 2 Mike's Hard Lemonades. I was a lightweight, still am to a certain degree. And
Nice.
I got like sick, dry heaving drunk, and that was after I had sex with my best friend's girl in his house. Yeah, this was the lowest point of my morals, and it was one of those things where talk about life changing moments. It was like the worst thing I ever did, the most drunk I'd ever gotten, and the turning point at which is like I never want to be that person again.
Gotcha.
And that I never have been, thankfully. But but it's nothing that I still am ashamed of how just callous and insensitive I was at that point. So I was the villain at that stage of the game, but I've tried to make up for it in the time since.
Oh yeah, we all slip.
Yep.
I saw a few questions back here.
Hmm.
Where do you stand on the pizza wars? I'm for pineapple. Dumbest thing you ever did? Oh wow.
Oh God, that'd get me into trouble just for I'd have to get specific and I give something away about myself.
I can't think of it. I can't think of anything that I would qualify for that. And not that I've never done anything dumb, just nothing
Yeah.
interesting dumb.
Hmm.
Uh, oh, okay, dumbest thing I ever did, but I'm proud of it.
Uh-oh.
When my daughter was 5, my oldest son was 3, and my youngest was just about 1. No, he was just over 1. We went to a 4th of July um, fireworks show at a nearby lake, and they'd never had fireworks there before. It was the first time they were going to have a show, and this dumbass redneck is there, and he's got little box fireworks. If you don't know what that is, it's a box that you light on fire and they shoot up into the air. Well, you're supposed to solidify these with something, usually a brick or something. And this asshole's just putting sand around it. Um, so it tips over, and one of the fireworks goes up and almost hits my son before it burns out. Literally, I mean, we're a foot away when it finally burned out. And I yelled over to him, if another one of those goes into the crowd, I will beat your ass. And sure enough, he lights another box and it fell straight over and went straight into the crowd. We were off to the side, so it wasn't on us, but literally right in the crowd, ended up burning a little girl pretty bad. Well, everybody scatters. I hand my son to my wife and I made a beeline for this motherfucker. And I whipped his ass. But his 6 friends beat the fuck out of me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was making a point. I wasn't paying attention to, hey, I'm here with my family. He's here with his drunk ass friends. I was lucky. I only walked out with a little bruise on my eye and a bruise on the end of my nose from where I got kicked in the face. But probably the dumbest decision I've ever made.
Hmm.
But still proud of it because I'll beat his ass again.
Yeah, the story I just told a second ago is probably the dumbest decision I ever made.
Um,
Or choosing those particular girls to date.
gotcha. My chat is just frozen. So,
Let's
um,
see. Favorite family member? I don't know. I love my family all around. The better
see
question would
with
be
kids.
my least favorite family member would probably be a better story.
Oh yeah, I could do that with no problem. Yeah, my it would be somebody in my immediate family, my wife, children. They're kind of all one. Um, but I couldn't pick a favorite.
Oh, we're being asked to give a shout out to someone thinking of starting their own channel.
Who's thinking of starting their own channel?
Well, I don't know. So here's sort of a question. It's like if you don't, if it's not organic to do that for someone, is it something that you would just do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
I mean, and not to say that I don't know if we're going to do it, but I'm just curious about what Monkey thinks about that kind of thing. Like, there's that notice me senpai kind of thing, and then there's that sort of like I get occasional messages on my videos like, "Hey, great video. Could you check out my channel and subscribe?" And like, I don't even know if this is a bot or something else. Just feels kind of eh.
Here's my stance on that. I shout out people that I find and like. I've never done it
Mhm.
for somebody who's asked me to.
Right.
Um, I'm with you. It's got to be organic. The notice me, I have no problem with that.
Sure.
I don't mind when people ask me to look at their videos. I'll do it. And
Yeah.
the one thing I don't like is when somebody asks me to give them my opinion on their video. And
Hmm.
it's not because I don't want to give my opinion. It's because I am a very
Holy cats.
blunt person.
You just got a $20 donation
Thank you
from
very
from
much.
Timothy Seelbeck. He says pepperoni, mushroom, onion, bell pepper, and pineapple. As to the person asking for the shout out, tell you what, go make your channel, make a video, tweet out a link to myself or Monkey, and we'll take a look.
Yeah, I'm happy to look at anything, but yeah, with the ones where people want their,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I don't mind doing it as long as you can take it, and I always warn them about that. It's like I'm happy
Yeah.
to do it.
Oh yeah,
but I'm
I've
going to
done
be
that several times
honest.
now. I've had several brand new people I've just met, um, sort of say, here's a link. I haven't posted it yet. Can you tell me, is it good or whatever else? And I'll be, yeah, like you say, I'll be brutally honest. I'll say, you know, you have this being animated. You might want to make that static because it's kind of, I can't read it if it's moving around. Or um, I remember, I forget who it was, but they done a critique of someone's speech or something, and they completely misinterpreted a point that they had made and
Oh,
turned it
okay.
into something it wasn't. And I said, you kind of missed. And I sort of told him, it's like, now, granted, this is just my perspective, but when he says this, he really means this, and you took it to mean that, and that's kind of not on base. And they're like, oh gosh, I better go fix that. And like, I would reconsider it. That's all. You know, it's like one of those things where it's like, I don't want to tell you how to make your video at the same time. If you want my opinion, I'm going to give you my opinion. So,
Well, see, that's the other part of it for me. A lot of it is just like we've talked. I'm not a big fan of, say, Thunderfoot. Lots of people love Thunderfoot.
mm-hmm.
If you show me a video like his, I'm going to be like, nah, I don't really care for it.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean it's bad.
I
It just means
appreciate,
it's not
yeah,
to my taste.
I appreciate Thunderfoot quite a bit. I mean, when he's being, like he did a video just the other day on Milo, and his perspective on it was played in some instances in stark contrast to a lot of the other YouTubers that I've seen videos of doing a Milo stuff. And even though it seemed kind of harsh and stuff, considering, I was like, he's got a point here and there. And so it's one of those things where it's like, well, I don't agree with him all the time, but it's, and this isn't a criticism of you or anything on Thunderfoot, but it's sort of one of those things where, like, even if it's somebody that I don't generally agree with on everything, I try to, like, grit my teeth and listen, because that's, I don't want to be, I want to practice what I preach. It's like, listen to someone you don't agree with and see, there might be common ground there. Like the video I did today on Van Jones, he says a lot of things in broad strokes that I agree with, and then he immediately goes and contradicts himself. But it's one of those things
Well,
where it's like,
for me with Thunderfoot, it's not what he says. It's how he presents it. The way he
oh,
speaks drives me nuts.
oh, right, that's right. It's his accent and just his tone, I guess, with you.
Yeah, and because I tend to agree with him on a lot of things,
Mm.
I am far more likely to listen to somebody I don't agree with,
Oh,
who I
okay.
can't stand, like Sandman. Holy, his fucking tempo,
I've heard about him. I don't think I've ever watched one of his videos.
his speaking style is annoying as fuck.
Mm.
But I've watched more of his videos probably than Thunderfoot all the way through, just because, like you said, it's the differing opinion,
Yeah.
and I'm going to listen to it if I'm going to speak about it.
Oh, Laura, yes, you still have to do your homework. I put a little homework assignment into my video today for people that cared enough to
Oh,
do it, and I've had people, apparently they are doing it, which is like, I have such power now.
I wasn't on YouTube much, so I'll have to check that out when I get done here.
Oh, sure. Um, God, and just as an aside, this Talks at Google channel, um, holy crap, are they just so obsessed with talking about race?
Toxic
The
Google.
Yeah, so it's these series. I mean, they have a whole they do a whole bunch of discussions or lectures and things. It's called, the channel is called Talks at Google. It's this series where they just have these sponsored speaking events that are done at Google facilities and such. And they've had this series going on. They've only started posting the videos now, but these speeches have taken place in the last like 4 or 5 months, or 3 or 4 months, and they're all focused on race. The first one they did was um, how white people are encouraging racism or something, and it featured Tim Wise, if you know who Tim Wise is.
That name is
Uh,
familiar.
he's a anti-racism activist who wrote a book called "Dear White America: A Letter to a New Minority."
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so he's a real peach.
Yeah.
And so they had this little panel thing, and they talked about, like, just how white is bad, basically. And the guy said at the beginning, he's like, "This is the first in a series." I was like, "Oh, Jesus, a series!" And so, like, the next one we're going to talk about, the African American community. There's going to be a Latino one. Like, you're going to have a talk about races, and you guys are called anti-racist. Okay, okay, great. Focus on that. And
Sure, why not?
they just put one up today, like just today. They have this big long panel. I think God was one of the speakers D. Ray McKesson. I'll have to double check. But anyway, it was called uh, Black Genius in Technology or something like that. Where is it? Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, talks at Google. Yeah, Black Genius in the Digital Age, talks at Google.
I might have to check these guys out.
Yeah,
Might be
I mean,
material for someday.
oh God, I mean, it's like super duper TEDx stuff, and I'm looking at like I want to say something, but it's a slog. I mean, these things are like anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half long each. It's just like, oh shit. So like
Uh,
the one I did today, I could only do the first half because I just couldn't take doing much more than that. But anyway, so yeah, if you
you
guys want some interesting, and I'm talking to the audience here, yeah, if you want an exposure to some crazy shit, look up talks at Google and just see what Google is promoting within itself and outwardly as well.
Did you see the new change coming to YouTube where they're going to have the basically cable through YouTube?
I've heard, I saw something, I saw a couple people on Twitter mention YouTube TV or something, and
Yeah. Hmm.
that's as close as I've gotten to knowing about it.
Yeah, that's basically going to try to compete with like cable channels. I'm interested to see how it works out for them.
Now, given the fact that I haven't had cable since 2002, I don't really care because I get all my stuff from the internet or Netflix, basically.
No, right, right.
Yeah.
But I am interested to see if it helps them financially because YouTube is not a big moneymaker for them.
No, it's not. They lose so much off of it.
Hmm.
But I mean, this is why I think YouTube should be eminent domain by the government and just turn into a public utility.
Yeah, there's a few
Holy
social.
shit, PC. Okay, another $5 for you.
Oh,
I don't know who's directing this to. I assume you. But in order for me to tell you what to say, I have to say it. So very good, PC. So what he wants you to say, or I tell you what, I will tweet this to you. That way I don't have to. I can make sure that he gets his
it says
recording.
for us to say it in. I can see it
Oh, you can
actually.
see it. Okay, all right. I thought you had
For
your
us to
chat on.
say it in unison for double reward.
Oh God! Now I am a whore. Okay. All right. Are you ready? Because on three. Okay.
Go ahead.
1, 2, 3. Say
Say Kristen
Kristen
is
is the
the
hottest
hottest chick
chick
you
you saw
saw in
in
the
the
last
last
5 minutes,
5 minutes,
and you're
and
a
you're a
masochist
masochist that would
that would love
love to
her to peg
peg
you.
you. That's about as unison as we can get, apparently. So is double rewards means he gets like $10 now or another $5?
I don't know, but I will be your dancing monkey for money. I'm a whore.
And you've just turned me into a whore. So now you're my
I'm a
you're
pimp
my
now
pimp.
too.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're the pimp. I got turned out today. It's a life changing moment, monkey.
There
You
we
just
go.
made. Oh, this was it.
That was so bad, but we tried.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean we have to practice more. We've only done like 3 streams together so far, and we have. Oh, there it is.
Actually, haven't
Another.
we done like 6 now?
Well, like when it's just you and me.
Oh, right, right, right.
We've
Yeah.
been on the same stream several times, but this sort of like uh, Bob Hope and Bing Crosby thing we've only done a couple of times now.
We've gotten quite a few people telling us we need to just make a podcast.
This what are we doing right now? This is a podcast.
That's what I thought. Well, you know,
Download the MP4 and extract the audio. Ta-da! Podcast. I mean, unless you're talking about like putting it on like iTunes or something for sale or advertisement or something, that's different. But
what does one need to start making videos on YouTube? Something to record with, whether some people do it entirely from their cell phones. You can use built-in camera on your computer, or like me, I don't use a camera at all. I just use Photoshop pictures. Something to record your sound with, and an internet connection to upload.
Yep. A microphone, Audacity, some kind of video editor software if you want to do like anything beyond just sort of like a static image and you talking. And yeah, practice.
I get that question a lot, and I really do want to make a video series where I show my actual process, how, the things I use. I just don't have the time to yet.
Yeah, and I'm sure I know there's a way to do it. I don't know how to actually capture that stuff without like turning a camera on my screen or something silly like that. So
Oh, you use a program called OBS or any other?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
OBS.
it's not too hard to do.
Ooh, Suit Yourself is following me now.
Oh, sweet.
Wow, cool. I have a celebrity,
What are you up to now? You were like 450 earlier, right?
oh no, he's following me on Twitter. As far as like
Oh,
subscribers, I don't know if he subscribed to me or not.
Suit is actually the first person that would be on our side that I got into an argument with.
Mm,
And it was funny because me and him we're cool. We just had a disagreement there, but there's a couple of people who don't really talk to me anymore because of it.
let's see. So as far as like actual subscribers, I am at 459 as of this writing. My biggest, let's see, as far as like people who follow me, the biggest person who follows me, or such say subscribe to me, is Sugar Tits.
Oh,
Though
nice.
to the best of my knowledge, I don't know that she's ever actually seen a video of mine, but that I don't know. After that, it's Prince of Queens, That Girl with an Opinion, Aware of Darkness, and then we move down into 2000 territory, people and Paper Ghost and Subliminal and those guys.
Love you too, baby. You missed me, but that's because
Um,
people can't see me when I subscribe to them. I have mine hidden.
right. That's yeah. That's the other thing. I could have Donald Trump following me for all I know, but he might have his subscriptions hidden. But yeah, I'm just I was I just hit 400 like this time last week, and so already I'm practically near 500. And when I hit 500, I'm going to start my series called Criminally Undersubbed,
Oh,
where
sweet.
I profile some YouTuber that at least has fewer subscribers than I do that I think needs some attention. And because as I was coming up in the world, if you want to call it that, I kept being told, you are criminally undersubbed. I like different people would use that exact same phrase. And I was just like, I got to do something with that. So that's my plan.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot too. And people, how come you have so few subs? Like, I've only been doing this a very little time.
Right. There's that too.
I'm
And
actually way above where I should be.
yeah, and I'm not surprised I have a relatively low because I don't know how to use the algorithm first and foremost. Secondly, I'm not as comic or topical necessarily as the more prolific YouTubers, and I sound like Kermit the Frog. So
See, I think you could use that. So,
yeah,
better read than
you
dead.
get copyright striked immediately. It's like, hi, Kermit the Frog here. No.
You're absolutely right. Better read. It is the views that matter. But I
Mm-hmm.
also get this comment a lot. My views to subscriber ratio is rather high for most YouTubers. And so is the amount of comments I get and the likes that I get because I have
Mm-hmm.
like the best fans on YouTube or
Mm-hmm.
viewers or audience, whatever you want to call them. Um, the people who come to my videos are fucking amazing. Not
I don't
only do
know.
they come, they watch and they like it.
I might have some competition for you because right now I got them doing homework. I mean, I
That
don't know.
see, I never thought about that.
That takes dedication. It's like I said at the beginning of the video. I said I'm only doing half of the talk, but I'll have a homework assignment later on in the video, and I make a point. I won't give it away, but I make a point in there, and I say, now remember that he said this, and if you choose to, go watch the rest of the video and let me know what you think about other things he says later on. And so far, I've got like 3 or 4 people that have told me that they are either have done it or will be doing it, which is like, that's okay.
Well, I've only asked my audience their opinion like once or twice, and
Mm,
the reason I don't do it is because one, I love answering my comments, which I can't do everybody anymore like I used to, and it drives me nuts.
mm-hmm.
But the one time that I did it was asking whether it was about the concept of us being oversaturated,
Right.
and I got so many great comments, I couldn't read them all
Mm.
because
I
they were really in depth and really great comments, but there were just so many long ones. Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was about to say right now I have the benefit of having a relatively small dedicated audience, so I can read most of the comments I get. What I was going to say was the only times to this point, at least until this homework thing, which is just sort of a lark, that I ask for input back is if I'm discussing a topic that I know very little about, or am making my best sort of layman's guess at. Like before, I was talking about the Nephites and the Lamanites.
Hmm.
If I was doing a video on that, I would give that description. Then I would say, but that's just my very, rudimentary understanding of it. If anybody has if I'm wrong in that assessment, or there's a better definition of it that you have, please put in the comments below. Because I mean, at the same time that I'm talking about any particular subject, if it's something that I'm not that familiar with, I am generally curious to find out something more about it, because there's only so much I can find or that I'm inclined to look up on the internet. So especially when it comes to things like the Quran or certain hadiths or something, if I'm doing something on like Islamic Pulse, that kind of thing. And just I
Well,
say that 10-foot pole says Allah snack bar.
most of the ones that I do, I don't think there's really questions I could even ask
Mm.
because it's just me telling somebody else why they're wrong.
Yeah, well, you have when that is the when that is your type of style, there really isn't any reason to ask any question because you've got the right opinion.
But I do get, you saw my tweet today, right? From the woman who's on a mission to take me down.
Oh yeah, I commented back on your video with that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah. She has another much longer reply, which I'm probably going to use for Dear Dumbass tomorrow.
She's now you've given her 15 minutes of fame.
Oh, fuck her. She's such a cunt. Um, it's on the original video I did on Whitney Waythor, and she's just telling me what a horrible person I am. And it was beautiful. And then, like, not 2 minutes later, that other one comes up where she's on a mission to take me down. And I laughed. I actually owe her because she made me laugh hard today.
Okay.
But I don't get many comments like that. And I actually
yeah.
expected a lot more. And my video that just went up, I'm expecting is going to get me a little bit of blowback because it's directed at TJ.
Oh, yes. How dare you attack Banana Man?
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes over. But he was wrong. He's fucking wrong. It's about the whole marijuana thing. I agree. Marijuana should be legal. But even in states where it's legal, it's still illegal because it's the federal law.
Right. Federal law supersedes state law. Yep.
And we don't need a president who ignores the law. What we need is to change the goddamn law.
Exactly. If you want to, I mean, now we have precedent in a way of states by proxy influencing eventual change in federal law. I mean, we had that we had that with gay marriage. So as a sort of activist movement, if enough states sort of decide this, then, and of course, depending on which poll you're looking at, most of the country is already fine with the idea of legalizing pot nationally anyway. But yeah, it is a bit of an inconvenience if federal law contradicts what you're doing in your state, and it's not one of those things that the feds don't have any control over as a states' rights issue or something like that.
Well, even like with gay marriage, it wasn't, what finally changed that had nothing to do with people protesting in the street. It was because it went before the Supreme Court and they decided it.
Right. But for it to get to that point, for it to get that point at all in the first place, we had 30 some odd states that had already decided this is what it was. So like, obviously we don't know what was in the mind of the justices, but I'm sure it's not that what was going on in the country had no effect on the eventual decision. So,
well, it had the effect in the fact that it forced it to the Supreme Court.
Right, exactly.
And that's what it sucks for the marijuana dispensaries in Washington state if they get raided. But that's what it's going to take for somebody to be able to take this to court and fight it all the way to the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
Your only other choice is to have Congress go in and make an actual bill
which won't
allows
it. It'll go nowhere.
No, not with the Republican Congress.
Not with the Republicans. They're not with Jeff Sessions as Attorney General and having as much sway and everything else that he's got, because he's a big drug warrior. So,
and the only other way it could happen. Oh, thank you so much.
£10,
Chris Knight. Thank you. That's like even more than $10.
Oh wait! Oh, is the pound worth more?
Oh wait, no, is the pound? Either way, it's close enough, and I thank you for it.
£10. That's the weight of my dick.
Nice. It must not weigh much if it's too. There's no video capture that can get it, but it's only 10 pounds. Must be a lot of air in there.
It's the length. It's the length, yo.
What was I saying? Oh,
Uh,
there's a third way that it could happen is if
mhm.
the FDA changes the classification.
Yes, which
Because our
probably
drug
won't happen.
laws, that's actually where it goes to is the FDA
Yes,
who has way too much power.
that is true. The likelihood that the FDA will make that decision of its own accord in a Trump administration with Republicans, no, not
Yeah,
no.
very low. So
Yeah, unless
what we really
unless
need
they
is
want
to
to lose
push
their
it.
jobs immediately.
And see, even if it goes to the Supreme Court, this would not win because of interstate commerce. So the here's what if
Yes.
you want to legalize weed, and I can't believe I'm saying this, you need to probably vote Democrat in 2018 because
Hmm.
you need people in there who are going to change the law.
Yeah, but the Democrats would never put that in their plank because they want to get the Republicans back that they think just took over the country.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Yeah.
So what you need is
Um,
a Republican who supports marijuana use.
well,
I actually think we're going to
yeah.
get to a place very soon where it will become legal federally.
Yes,
But
I think so too.
TJ's stance was that he's going to, he basically said he's going to join SJWs in their fight against Trump over this. And that is fucking retarded. Fight him
That's
on this issue,
Jesus.
fight him on this issue, but don't abandon everything else. That's
So,
fucking stupid.
really, so pot is all that stood between the amazing atheist and aligning with SJWs.
Basically, yeah.
That's okay.
That's sad.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You have to be high for that to make sense.
Your decisions make me sad.
Yes. And I like I don't hate TJ. I
No.
enjoy some of his content. Again, he's too bombastic for me to watch all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't hate him or anything. I just think he's wrong here, and I'm interested. I really thought the roaming millennial one would have brought me a lot more hate.
Mm.
Um, I really didn't get that much for that. I'm curious to see how this one goes.
To the best of my knowledge, and I'm it's possible there's one or two somewhere in there. I haven't gotten any like negative comments. I've had people like correct me a couple of times, which is not like negative. It's like, oh, you said this thing, or you misheard what that person said. They actually said this because the audio was bad or something, and I've made corrections and such. But thus far, knock on wood, my commenters and my subscribers have all been very supportive and or very helpful in just the course of things, and I've been very lucky so far. I'm sure that if and when my audience broadens, or if I happen to, strike algorithm gold like Irate Bear did that one time with the Cat Black video, I'm sure that'll all come crashing down. But for the time being, it's nice.
I I like those kind of things though. I there's one person who pops up every 3 or 4 videos who calls me bearing and then makes some shitty comment. Um,
Okay, yeah, because you sound so much like him.
yeah, Chrisiosity commented the other day.
Ooh, that's
She,
famous.
she left some shitty little comment, and my reply was just, "Ooh, edgy as fuck."
Ooh,
Um,
to be damned by the devil is perhaps the greatest blessing.
indeed, yeah.
Mm.
Every once in a while, Tim will comment. I think he just gets bored. Um, but yeah,
But
I like those kind of comments because they make me laugh and they give me content for my dear dumbass.
Better Red Than Dead says, "My ass is the bomb. It's bombastic." Well, that's a scary thought because I'm quite a redhead aficionado. So be careful.
Are you actually a redhead? Better dead?
I
Are you a redhead scribe?
No, I'm not a redhead.
Are you a ginger?
I'm not. The
Night,
by
doggy.
by either luck or damnation, most of the girls that I've ended up getting involved with had red hair of one kind or another, or went red at some point in our relationship.
Mm.
Um, I prefer natural reds, but like I said, like a couple of my old girlfriends, they just without any sort of input from me or anything, just dyed their hair sort of red out of the blue. And so I've ended up in one way or another almost always dating a redhead at some point in the course of a relationship, just out of. But I think I was trying
Yeah,
to.
but did you like have posters of Nicole Kidman up or
No, no,
something?
no, no, no. Yeah, I was trying to think the other day exactly where my redhead sort of preference came from, and I I am almost 100% sure it's from a movie, and I've been trying to remember what movie it was and what actress it was, but I didn't have like, girly magazines all over my or girly pictures or posters on my walls or anything of anybody in particular. So I'm pretty sure it was. I'll have to think about it, but I'm almost positive it was some early exposure to some pretty girl on a movie or something that just sort of set the mold for me.
See ya, Elephant. Thanks for coming. I can actually pinpoint why I like both short skirts and long, dark, curly hair. It was from the girl who sat in front of me in history class in 7th
Mm-hmm.
and 8th grade. She always wore short jean skirts just above
Mm-hmm.
her knee, and she had this long curly hair she always had up, and I could just stare at the back of her neck the whole day, and I didn't get much
Mm,
done. But yeah, she colored the whole course of my romantic life.
that just because you mentioned the back of the neck, the sort of area of a girl that for whatever reason always turned me on in school was when I could see that little part of their waist between their pants and their shirt when they'd like lean over in their desk chair or something.
Oh yeah,
For
yeah.
whatever, it sounds like such an Amish thing. Oh my god, a little hint of skin. But for whatever reason, that little indentation from the hip up to the waist and just that little sort of peak of underneath always. I don't want to
You know
call it.
why? This
Oh,
is
do tell.
psychological, and because that is one of my favorite parts on a woman's body is because that's the
Mhm.
top of the arrow pointing to heaven.
I guess that's one way to look at it. Sure.
It is. If you see him naked, it's like, oh look, that's an arrow pointing to where I should be.
Gotcha.
I like chubby earlobes.
Yeah,
Or who the
she's
hell
a,
has chubby earlobes?
I don't know. It must be a Geordie thing because she's up in the Geordie area of Britain, whatever the hell that is. I'm not a
Do
geography expert, so what the fuck do I know?
do people get like silicone injected into their earlobes for
Or
you?
or is it like or do earlobes become chubby when aroused?
Oh,
Is that something like I have a chubby?
yeah. Got an earlobe boner.
Oh god, yeah. It's either I like a nice bottom, that little that well, a nice waist, and I think I said this in an earlier one. A good set of eyebrows will knock me over from the other side of the room.
Yeah, eyebrows I don't get, but
Yeah, well,
I'm
sorry,
no,
I'm
no.
weird.
Guys are weird.
Yeah,
We
sure.
like what we like.
Hmm. I like feet.
See, I've
Okay.
never gotten that one.
You know
I
what?
I don't hate feet.
I had a theory about this. So when I was role playing Vampire the Masquerade,
Hmm.
I was playing a Setite, a Eurotrash Setite. And what I would do, or what I'd have this character do, is he'd be sitting there, and I went full bore with this. I had like on a smoking jacket, I had a little cigarette holder thing, even though I don't smoke. I had like tinted glasses and the whole 9 yards. And I'd sit at these tables with these other characters and everything, and I'd look at the pretty girls and I'd say, "Would you show me your foofies?" And they'd be like, "What? I'd like to see your foofies." My foofies? Yeah, please. And it was this weird thing because it was just having them take off their shoes. And now I personally don't have a foot fetish. I just decided this character was sort of catty like that or teasing like that. But what I after a while I thought about it, I was like, you know, exposing your feet in public is kind of a weird thing for people, especially if it's like indoors or something. So if I was able to get someone to expose their feet, which isn't like, some kind of erogenous zone or something for most people. It was a sort of surrender. It was a sort of submitting to vulnerability. And in that sort of exchange of my influence over them to become slightly vulnerable, there is some sexual tension there. That's what I found in the course of that.
I can see that, I guess. Like my wife has really cute feet, really cute little hands. She's so tiny. Um, so that she has little cute feet, but they never turn me on. But I see what you're saying there. It is something that you in public, other than like if say you're at a beach, and especially if you're indoors, nobody takes off their shoes.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
so yeah, I can see that, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of the conclusion I came to, is how my character saw this little game he would play with people, is sort of like, because the Setites were always about influencing people and sort of manipulating stuff, and it was just this gateway drug to see, can I manipulate this person to do something both simple and also make themselves vulnerable in a way in public at the same time. There was that kind of thing.
Robot, what was the poll? Apparently, I won his poll.
Oh, you won his poll? That sounds sexual.
Poll.
I know. I know. I'm making a
Just
bad joke.
throwing that out there for people who
I
are
know.
watching this later and can't see the chat.
I'm making a dad joke, even though I'm not a dad. It's my best jokes.
I love dad jokes. Dad jokes are on my father's side of the family. They have the driest sense of humor. The stupidest jokes make us go into just hour-long laughter fits, and it's great. And we all share them between each other. I fucking love them. I always have.
Do you want to hear? Have I? I'm sure someone in the chat has probably heard me say this. Have I ever told you the worst pun I have ever heard?
No.
Okay. And I wish I could take credit for this, but I heard this from someone else. So, and I don't know if it's a true story or not. Two guys walk into a thrift store because one guy is looking for a pair of boots. And they walk into the back of the store where all the boots are on the racks and everything. And they got this long, line of shoes and boots and such. And they're buried right in the middle of a line of, used leather boots is a pair of wooden clogs, like the kind you'd see in like some old Danish painting or something, right?
Mhm.
And the guy looking for the boots, he grabs these things just with an absolute look of bewilderment on his face and holds them up to his friend and says, "Who the hell would wear these?" And the friend looks at him, looks at the shoes, looks up at him and says, "Well, wouldn't you?"
Oh my God. See, that would kill at my family reunion.
You're more than welcome to take it. PC Robot, I challenge you to a rematch. I can drink more whiskey than you, double or nothing.
Okay,
Talking to you.
I'm 3/4 Irish. If I could drink right now, I would take that bet.
Yeah, see, the drinking thing we don't find out till tomorrow. So stop being mean. He might find out he can't do
Oh,
that.
actually, not tomorrow. It's next week because of the
sorry,
snowstorm.
next week. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, I had to put that off because
unless it's ham that's been marinated in it, or can you do that too anymore?
you could probably do that because it burns off the alcohol.
Right. Okay.
When you cook it,
it's still whiskey, so he could probably eat you under the table. That sounded bad.
That's such a horrible.
That was a bad turn of phrase. Never mind. Eat you under the table. Oh yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah. Okay. Where's the strangest place, the most public place you've ever had sex?
The most public place, dressing room at a clothing store.
Nice.
We were almost caught. This was with my my true love. We were at the I'll just say we were at a department store. We had snuck into one of the changing rooms, and we were going at it. And at one point, she was on the floor on her back, and we were being very quiet and everything. And then somebody knocks on the door, and her eyes went about as big as saucer plates, and she's like terrified. And I clamped my hand over her mouth because in this situation I'm the dominant, of course.
Right.
So I clamp my hand over my mouth. In those situations, I go completely like stone cold, cool as a cucumber kind of thing. I clamp my hand over her mouth. She's looking at me with just absolute terror. And I reach over and I put my hand on the door, my other free hand on the door to sort of hold it closed. And I say, "Somebody's in here." And I try to direct my voice upwards because obviously I'm on the floor when I'm saying this.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And they walk away. And she's just still like terrified. And I use, because I'm a sadistic fuck like that, I use that fear in her to, finish doing what we were doing, and it sort of heightens everything. And it was pretty hot.
You are Christian Grey.
No,
Hi, SDA. Nice to see you.
No.
Christian Gay is bad.
Yeah, no.
For me, it was the stage of my high school auditorium.
Were there people there?
No. Lights were off, and
okay.
we could see people walking by. But if they had looked in, we would have been busted.
I had sex in a Quiznos freezer.
Cool.
This is from someone in the chat, by the way.
Yeah. I saw.
I was making sure because for posterity's sake, no one's going to know that I was in it.
Right. That was Scribe, by the way.
Yes, that was weirdest guilty pleasures: movie, song, and book.
Oh, see, they're going to get us in trouble with movies.
I'm going to skip the movie part because we'll just talk about movies. Song, guilty song pleasure.
I already did that one. Yeah. Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah, anything by Peter Cetera, basically.
Oh God!
Because honestly, the song,
Glory of Love.
Yeah, exactly. That's the song to Karate Kid Part 2. The Glory of Love is actually, I love that song. I love
Me
it.
too.
Or I guess maybe the other one would be, if I had to pick another one, because it is a good song. Um, we built this city on rock and roll,
Oh yes, excellent song.
because it makes absolutely, if you read the lyrics, it makes absolutely no sense, but it's a great song.
Yeah, yeah.
Guilty pleasure book. Um,
Playboy.
there's
Oh wait, that's a
this.
magazine.
Yeah, well, they only just reintroduced nude photos to it, so it was a book for a while. There's this book. It's called Cain, Cain. It was written, I believe the author's name was Robert Huggins. This was written like back in the late 90s. And it reads like an action movie I wish they would make. It is cliche as hell, but it is an action book. It's about resurrecting like the devil, and then this special forces guy has to go chase down and kill this guy. There's a cult, and there's all. It's got everything I would ever want in a real action movie, and it's in this book, and it's just so fun to read. I've read it so many times over the years. It's a great book.
Okay. I'm supposed to say this, but I would say it anyway.
Mm.
SDA is much SDA is much better than June. There are Jesus Christ, you'd think I'd be able to read using scripts all the time. SDA is much better than June. There is no better female YouTuber than SDA. Everyone subscribe to SDA. Now, everybody go subscribe to SDA
What
and
does
Scribe.
what does SDA stand for?
Some dumb American.
There you go. So I want to see SDA because um, I think there's like a speed running group that's similar in letters to that. And every time I see SD, I think they're talking about speed running. What?
No, nobody would know the speedrunners. You know the weirdest shit.
Well, the speed? Well, there's a thing called the Speed Demo Archive, SDA, and SD.
And
Yeah, Speed Demo
you're the only one who knows about it.
Horse shit. Just look up Speed Demo Archive. There's some there's some games in there that they've got videos of that I used to play, and I'm just blown away by the shortcuts these guys have found. And they're not even, and some of them aren't even like hacks or like cheats or something. They just found a way to use the mechanics in the game to get from point A to point B, and some things that took me hours. It's just amazing. But yeah, Some Dumb American is not Speed Demo Archive. Just so everyone is aware.
Did we have another question? I thought one flew by.
Do you remember? Oh, somebody just mentioned Nancy Drew, but do you remember the book series called The Great Brain?
No.
Okay, it might be just me, but it's from my childhood. How about the Indian in the Cupboard?
Oh, I've heard of that. Never read it.
Okay.
I didn't read much as a kid. I hated reading until, and I wasn't very good at it until, let's see, I was maybe 10. My brother's friend was having a garage sale, and for $5, he had this huge box of Cracked and Mad magazines.
Oh man, I still have a lot of my Mad magazines.
I gave mine away to my friend's son.
Oh.
But that's how I learned to read. Was those books. Mom gave me $5, and $5 at the time was a lot more than it is now. But yeah, that's how I learned to read.
My reading stuff when I was a kid, like I said, the series that I read the most of were Indian in the Cupboard, The Great Brain, and Encyclopedia Brown. Because Encyclopedia Brown was like always like solving mysteries and stuff, and in like Murder She Wrote, it was one of those things where if you read the story, you could conceivably solve the mystery yourself. I always liked those because I was like trying to figure it out before they gave the solution away at the end.
I was not a whore. I was accused of being a whore. Somebody said I didn't have time to read because I was busy being a whore.
You know, alcoholics generally don't admit they're alcoholics. So
told you. I only slept with 3.
Yeah. How many times?
Oh, the most in one day was 7 between 2 of them.
You so slut!
I might have been a little bit of a whore.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But there was here's a good story for you from high school. My best friend had a girlfriend who lied about me and said that I had felt her up and that we had made out. And the only reason that it was able to be proven true is she said something that the girls I'd been with knew was absolutely false.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She said he doesn't like to kiss at all. And both of the girls I was seeing at the time, like, that's bullshit.
Right.
Because that's something I enjoy very much.
Let's see.
Monkey whore. I wasn't a whore.
Monkey whore.
I wasn't smart enough to charge for it.
Hashtag monkey whore. Oh, they bought you gifts or something. They drove you around or something, especially the older one.
The older one did buy me gifts,
There you go. You're a whore. It's fine.
but she only
Pro-
bought me two
Probably
things.
probably to
She
keep you
bought me my
quiet.
Sega Genesis.
She bought you a. Did your parents be like, where the hell did you get that?
Well, Dad didn't care.
Oh, of course he didn't. Cool dad.
And she bought me the soundtrack to Blaze of Glory because I really wanted it.
Blades of Glory.
Blaze
Blades of
Z.
Glory.
It's not. It's the soundtrack to Young Guns 2.
Oh, okay. I was about to say because I was thinking Blades of Glory, and the first thing I thought it was Young Guns, and I was like, there's a
Yes,
movie
she
called
only
Blades of
bought me a
Glory.
Sega Genesis. It's not like she bought me games for it. It just came with Sonic and Altered
The,
Beast.
oh, Altered Beast. There you go. Now there's a movie they need to make.
Yeah, that game, I played it on the Steam console thing.
Mm.
I forgot how bad that game was.
Yeah, I mean the memories of things are far more shiny than the actual reality of what it is.
They really are.
If I watch old cartoon, like if I watch old GI Joe, it's like, oh God, oh, this is bad. Or old Thundercats or something. It's like, oh my God, was this actually something I thought was cool? Would you ever watch Silverhawks?
I might have seen it once or
Okay,
twice.
Silverhawks was the shit. Let's see. Wolf, you need to read Atari 2600. Yeah,
We need
my
more
first.
questions, guys.
Yeah, questions, guys. I mean, we're gonna descend into movies here pretty quick. If you guys don't
And we
jump
are
in.
trying hard to stay away from it
Yeah,
because
but
somebody was
we gotta save that
giving
for
us
like
shit.
specific streams. Echo the Dolphin movie. Echo the Dolphin was a really good game. I mean,
I never
especially
played it.
it had for the 16-bit, it really took advantage of everything the 16-bit engine could do at the time, and it looked really good. It played really good. It was a really interesting concept. I wasn't so sure about the sequels, but the first one was really neat.
My favorite game on the Genesis was Road Rash.
Captain Power. Oh fuck yeah, Captain Power with Tank and all those other guys, and you got to interact with the screen and like the computer generated baddies and everything. Captain Power was awesome. Live action toy. I mean, it was like I think that was probably one of the last times they ever had like a live action kids action show with like computer generated graphics and like you'd interact with the toys you bought with the screen. It was amazing.
I still love to watch the old Batman shows, and my granddaughter loves them
Mm,
because they're nice and colorful.
yes.
But holy crap, they were gay. I did not realize how gay they were when I was a kid.
Oh man, but yeah, Burgess Meredith and then Frank Gorshin is the Riddler. Just the bad guys were so neat. I love those guys.
And I hate to get into the movie, but the plot of the Batman 1969 movie is one of the greatest things ever. When I sat and
Oh
watched it with my children,
yeah,
we laughed so hard when they dehydrate
when they dehydrate the UN.
and everybody in the UN is speaking to each other in different languages. There's no
Oh yeah,
no
translator
interpreters
in
there.
there.
It's
Yeah,
so great.
and then when they rehydrate them, they just start off where they left off, and it's just like
Yes.
and
Like
and the
nothing happened.
the bat shark repellent.
Oh yes.
It's
Yes.
amazing. Oh god, and
The greatest part of that movie
mhm.
is Batman is running around with a bomb
Yes,
and it's about to go off and he's trying to get it away from people. And he runs over and he's about to throw it in the water, but he sees some ducks
yes.
and he's not going to kill those ducks. So he runs
Batman
further.
doesn't kill.
That movie's great.
Oh,
And that doesn't count as a real movie because it's complete shit.
night night, Laura. Sleep
Night,
well.
Laura.
5 in the
I hope you
morning.
find
Jesus.
some chubby earlobes.
Yeah, chubby earlobes. Dream of chubby earlobes. Um, I thought one of the best parts of that movie was when Bruce Wayne is sort of hitting on Catwoman in the back of that car.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, she's not Catwoman; she's Selena Kyle or whatever. At that point, I just thought, it was one of those weird turns where it's like, this is you could almost take this scene if you didn't know it was from a Batman movie and put it into some kind of like cheesy romantic movie of the time or something, and it would almost fit there because Adam West, God love him, he got typecast so bad.
Oh yeah.
And he could have done so much. He did other things too, but I mean, after Batman, there was nowhere else for him to go, and it's really sad too. It's almost like the guy who played Ernest P. Worrell.
Yeah, Jim Varney.
Jim Varney. He was a classically trained Shakespearean actor, and he got completely typecast by Ernest.
But
And
you also have to
yeah,
think about it like this. This is a guy who made his became famous off of a fucking milk commercial.
yes, exactly. Well,
And
actually, no. He came up with Ernest for like an auto parts thing locally somewhere for a commercial, and then it spread into a bunch of other stuff.
I'm actually from where it started.
Oh, are you okay? I'm
Yeah.
speaking out of my ass. Never mind.
No, no, you're fine. Yeah, it did start with I, I swear it started with milk. It was
Okay.
what the hell was the brand? Somebody help me out. Anyway, but yeah, but he took that, and I've never understood why people get upset being typecast if you can still make your living. He made what, 6 or 8 of the Ernest movies?
Something like that.
Plus he was in Beverly Hillbillies, which he actually did a really good job in that. You get to see some of his actual acting in that.
Let's see. Ernest was created by the Nashville advertising agency Carden and Cherry and was used in various local television ad campaigns. The only national products he promoted were Coca Cola sodas, Chex, and Taco John's. The first Ernest commercial, filmed in 1980, advertised an appearance by the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders at
Nice.
Beach Bend Park, an amusement park, etc. So yeah, he was Elvis. Well, I think when I've seen interviews with people who have been typecast and they complain about it, they're more like, I wanted to do other work, I wanted to do other things, but nobody would hire me because I was that guy.
See,
And
I
if you're
that's
an artist, I can see how that would be very, very frustrating.
but see, I go back to Kevin Bacon and his, I'm an actor, that's what I do. If that's the job you can get, that's a job you can get.
Sure, but I mean, if you're not going to be hired for anything else because you're typecast,
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Well, see, then if you look at somebody like Leslie Jones, not Leslie Jones,
Shit, Leslie
Leslie
Nielsen, maybe.
Nielsen.
Leslie
Holy
Jones.
shit.
Is Leslie Jones going to get any work after Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But Leslie Nielsen was a serious actor before he did Airplane.
Yes.
And then after Airplane, he never appeared in another. Fuck, we are on movies. God damn it.
Well, it was Police Squad
It
that
was
really.
inevitable.
Yes.
But he never did a serious movie again.
No, I mean
And he
after.
was actually a pretty good actor.
Yeah, if you see, I think it's Forbidden Planet. He did a great job in that.
Hmm.
But yeah, when he finally did Surf Ninjas, I think we were all pretty much, yeah, it was done. He did Mr. Magoo. He did all types of crazy things. He did like Spy Hard.
Yeah,
Spy
he did
Hard.
one with
Um,
trying to think. There's so many he did, and most of them were shit. Once he got away from Airplane and oh, what the hell's the name of this?
Naked
Great, there
Gun.
goes the Naked Gun. Thank you. Did you ever see the TV show?
You mean Police Squad? Yeah, that's what it was based on. From the Files of Police Squad was the
Yep,
first
yep.
one. Yeah, yeah, I saw bits and pieces of the old one, and then the same sight gag humor, the same. Such great writing. I mean, you just don't see that anymore.
Yes.
You know what? And I was thinking about this the other day. You know why I think that the sort of grandchildren of the Airplane movies are so lower of quality. I think the big reason is that, save for a couple of people on the Airplane cast, almost all the actors in there got their foundational acting in serious roles.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that they were all known for serious roles and for being like professional actors, doing a turn in something that ludicrous made it funnier because they were playing it straight and they knew how to play it straight because they weren't hamming it up for laughs
Hmm.
so much as they were playing it straight. And so a lot of these sort of like Meet the Spartans and Scary Movie, I mean, who populates those movies? Comedians, or
Yeah.
comic actors. So I think the key to making another Airplane, if they were to do something like that, would be to find the best dramatic actors and convince them to do it.
Oh yeah. Get some Shakespearean actors in there.
The
Okay.
closest, yeah, I think Reds, not Red, well, yeah, Reds, the recent stuff with Bruce Willis was probably the closest we've come to. Oh, Cloak and Dagger. Oh
Yes.
God, yes, Cloak and Dagger. Okay, so I love Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger was like one of my favorite movies growing up. Like Jack Flack. It took me so long as a kid to understand that Jack Flack was the kid's imagined version of his father and not that they were the same person. I was so
Mm.
confused by that as a growing up. I was like, Dabney Coleman is the does he not what I don't understand because I thought it was like split personality or something. When it finally made sense to me, it was awesome. And the I tell you
Psycho.
what,
We'll get there in just a second.
the part of that movie that scared the shit out of me was the old lady with the missing fingers and then her like chloroforming the kid. It was so weird to see old people as villains, and especially the missing fingers part of it. That scared the absolute bejesus out of me. And plus the fact it was a kids movie where like the guy at the beginning gets shot in the head. William Forsythe, who would go on to play Flat Top in and Dick Tracy, and of course several other things. Yeah, God, it was such a good movie.
Psycho wanted to get us away from movies and asked
Oh,
why we think morals are more important than ethics, and that is a carryover from a question the other day.
yeah.
Um, I think morals are more important than ethics because morals are your personal beliefs,
Hmm.
and that is going to guide you more than ethics, which is more of in my mind, a broad set of rules set by society. We talk about ethical behavior. That's not as um, to me, that's not as personal as your morals. Your morals are your set of beliefs, and that's going to determine how you act.
Morals are federal law, and ethics are state laws. The morals tend to guide, like you just said, they guide your ethics depending on what you're in, because ethics can be different depending on what we're talking about. There's journalistic ethics, there's medical ethics. Ethics can be very specified to a certain vocation or
Hmm.
situation or something else, but ultimately, how you apply yourself to those ethical standards comes down to your personal morals and whether or not, I mean, you might be held to an ethical standard as a journalist, or amorphously be held to an ethical standard, but how much or how little you apply yourself to those ethics are based on your personal morals. So a Matt Drudge is going to operate on journalistic ethics much differently than a Tom Brokaw. That's just, because that's their pedigree and that's their professionalism.
Yep, yep. Morality is subjective, absolutely. But it does for each of us determine what is right for us.
I So morality is subjective. If it was okay to murder your best friend, we wouldn't be here. I think there are some very basic instinctual pragmatisms that end up becoming morals that most of us hold, because otherwise we wouldn't see serial killers as abhorrent to society. We wouldn't see people who deviate so far from the common line of decency, at least in this civilization. Um, there are some things I wish were a bit more commonplace, depending on what part of the world you're in. But like kicking a pregnant woman. There's few people on the planet that think that's a good idea, or would go out of their way to do it. And if you did go out of your way to do it, you would probably be in the far minority. So I think there are some basic principles of civilization that run common in most people. Now, granted, if you have a religion that says it's okay to kick women in the stomach if they have betrayed you or something, that's different. But as we become more sophisticated as human beings and go more westernized, we tend to end up in a common thought line on a lot of things. So I think there is some things that are just ingrained moral. If that
Psycho
makes sense.
said morality is subjective while ethics are universal. If your morals follow your ethics, then your morals would be good. But if your ethics follow your morals, then all hell breaks loose. Ethics are based off of morals.
Right.
They're societal morals. They're what everybody comes together and goes, this is what we all believe. This is what should happen.
Yeah. First,
Um,
do no harm. That
yeah.
is a medical ethic, but that is also based on a moral good, essentially.
And with like you were talking about with Matt Drudge, I mean, there are journalistic ethics that tell people what he did, the way he became famous is not journalism at all.
Mm-hmm.
But for him, not only did it work for him, he had no problem with it.
Right.
Um, we see the same thing with Milo Yiannopoulos. The way the stories he used to write, most respected journalists wouldn't write shit like that. That
Mm-hmm.
it would be more of a tabloid kind of thing. But he had no qualms doing it. And yeah, some people thought, that's unethical, but morally he was okay with it and did quite well for himself.
Yeah, and oftentimes unethical does not mean illegal or anything. So, I
Or
mean,
amoral even.
oh, right, or amoral, or yeah, or I should say immoral. Amoral is the absence. Immoral is the opposite side of it. I mean, yeah, it's like corporations are amoral because they're
True.
good
Okay. Yeah.
people. Yeah, just because I'm being a nitpicking English major. Pardon me.
That's actually one of the my favorite arguments is asking somebody what the opposite of hate is.
What's the
Everybody always
opposite of
answer.
hate?
What's your
Well,
answer?
of course, the reflexive answer is love.
hmm But
Uh,
that's not right.
no, the opposite of hate is neutrality.
Apathy. Yep.
Yep.
It's the because hate and love are actually on the same spectrum. They're both very deep
If,
feelings.
yeah, if you hate someone, you dislike someone with passion. If you
hmm
love someone, you like someone with passion. Hate is just another expression of passion, and actually, it's it's like love. It is a lot like love, except
hmm
that it's just negative. That's all. It's
Yeah, and the opposite of that is apathy, not caring at all.
and how quickly we know that one can turn to the other very quickly.
Yes, yes.
Because I mean, you can the quickest pathway to hate is love, especially if you're like betrayed by an idol or something, or someone that you trusted and they do something awful or that you would perceive as awful. That's the quickest path to hate is love.
What purpose is there to morals? To kick a pregnant woman who is bearing the child of an enemy is logical, yet immoral is all fuck. Why? Um,
To
be,
kick the that's it's logical to kick. So,
yes,
oh,
it,
is it?
yeah, absolutely. Because if that's your enemy, and I'm thinking mortal enemy here.
Okay, we're
Um,
talking like tribal caveman type shit.
yeah, sure, or even war. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
stopping the other side from reproducing is really a smart thing to do. But it's immoral because if we go that far, then we're losing. There's nothing worth fighting for if you're willing to do that.
Yeah, what defines what would separate you then from a animal that's just
Right.
trying to dominate the herd? I mean,
See, one of
there's
the
yeah.
I was going to say one of the reasons that our military is as good as it is. It's not just the big budgets and everything. It's that we do have the no man left behind rule, which doesn't always make sense because that actually can slow you down and stuff. But it builds such a cohesive um, brotherhood that
Mm-hmm,
these guys are willing to do so much for each other. And
right.
most armies don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So that we have things like these. You have these moral things that we do because they help you be better than your enemy, even if your enemy isn't that bad.
Yeah, there was this point that Hitchens often made, even talking about the Ten Commandments. He's like, so it wasn't until some guy came down off a mountain with these rules that said, "Thou shalt not kill," that everybody suddenly realized, oh, that's bad. There's no way they would have gotten through the desert if they thought all those things were permissible to begin with.
Right. Well, see,
Yeah,
and
yeah. There's certain boundaries of behavior when you're talking about community, when you're talking about when you're talking about mutual support, that just naturally evolve out of both necessity and just human bonding. That
mhm,
you don't need to. I don't. You don't need to be told that it is wrong to murder someone inevitably, because we do have something that separates us from the animals, and that's compassion. That's the ability to empathize, etc. Short of you being like a psychopath or something. And so these things can naturally occur in and of themselves and become a moral standard, short of being interfered with by things like religion or other things.
do you get spanked for being bad? No, I don't like spankings. I used to. Until I turned 13, I don't remember a day I didn't get spanked, and I earned every one of them.
I like spanking girls who are bad.
See, I did the whole getting. I when I was in kindergarten,
Be a pitcher, not a catcher, is all I'm saying.
when I was in kindergarten and first grade, um, I went to a private school that was allowed to spank you.
Oh,
And if you got spanked there, you had to take home this manila envelope that told your parents. And then you would get spanked again. And then dad would get home from work and you would get spanked. So there are times I got spanked 3 times for the same goddamn thing.
oh, geez.
Yeah. I on the plus side though, I honestly believe if they hadn't have spanked me as much as they would have been in prison by now.
Hmm.
I get a lot of really bad ideas.
I didn't get spanked too much as a kid. I mean, like I've said before, I was pretty much the good kid. If it was a rare occasion where I did something that was so egregious that it warranted a spanking. But I mean, my dad did it occasionally, but it wasn't a constant thing.
I my first spanking in school, I still remember. was because my best friend wanted to play horse and I didn't want to. And he called me a coward and I beat his ass for it.
Nick Hall just made a very good point.
Where at?
It just happened in the chat a second ago.
That went over his head. They spanked the monkey 3 times in a day. Was it pleasurable? No, it wasn't.
That's a good one. Yeah, no, yeah, I don't think of Monkey in that way now because I talk to him too much.
The if you spank the monkey that much, the skin just gets sore.
Don't I know? Oh wait, the Code of Hammurabi. Well, I mean, so many religions come down to the basic, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's not a perfect sort of base morality line to use because obviously I wouldn't want what's done to Charles Manson to be done to me. So it doesn't exactly hold true in every situation. But so far as a good starting point for how to operate in the world, that's what so many religions inevitably come down to in one way, shape, or form.
Somebody said spanking is a humility-based deterrent. No, it's not. It's a fear-based deterrent.
Well, it depends on the context. It can also be a supplication. It can also be a form of catharsis
Yeah.
for both parties involved. I mean, if we're talking, and I'm going to get sort of academic here for a second, when it comes to power exchange between two consenting adults, to like many submissives I met over the course of my years were
Time out. You're doing it again, real quick. This is about punishment, not that comment I read. It was father child.
Oh, never mind.
I love when you do that, and I should have let you go.
And this is how I misread things and go off on tangents and try to talk like I know what I'm talking about. Never mind. See, Monkey has diffused me. I was going to try to be all like informative and stuff, but no, it's fine.
He was going to go explain why 50 Shades of Grey is a bunch of shit.
Yeah, no, there you go. That's the Reader's Digest version.
I love when you do that. It's so great.
My brain just goes in 17 different directions. Just give me a little bit of jet fuel, and I will go miles.
Now, I don't understand. Since you're actually willing to go there, I don't understand the whole spanking fetish. And again, it's a large part of that is because I was spanked so much as a kid that I can't find it sexy at all.
Mm-hmm.
But where does how is that sexy at all?
So, well,
how is pain sexy?
Well, okay. First, on a biological level, endorphins. If I'm slapping you, it releases endorphins that try to counteract the pain, and so you have this sort of internal incentive to want the pain to come because with the pain comes the afterglow of the endorphins. So that's one thing on sort of a very basic level. On another level, when you in a sort of instinctual animal way, when you are exposing your bottom to someone, you are giving yourself over to a vulnerability again. It's kind of like when I was talking about taking off your shoes and showing your feet.
Right.
You've turned your back to someone. You are exposing yourself fully to them, both some place that you cannot easily see what's going on, and also, I mean, in a woman's case, your private parts, and you are extending a level of trust to the person who is going to be doing whatever, and also a sense of release. As I was about to say, there are a lot of submissives that I've met are in their real lives exceedingly detail oriented, controlling people.
Oh, okay.
Their natural mode is to make sure that everything is orderly, either by natural instincts or by nature of the job that they have. They have to be in charge. They have to oversee everything. This can be very tiring. And their idea of heaven is being in a situation where they are not in control. And they give the control over to another person, and they are allowed to be free of having to take responsibility. And so, in those intimate moments and everything else, if a submissive gives that trust and that power over to the dominant, it is a power exchange. That's what it's called. So where they're giving power to the dominant to make the decisions and take the actions and initiate and so on. And
See,
that is a very
can't you do that
attractive thing.
without getting beaten?
Well, see, it now first off, that's part of the stigma, the idea that it involves pain. There are lots and lots and lots. Unlike racism, BDSM actually is a spectrum. Was it Fusion or whatever tried to tell me that, or Mike, sorry, Mike.com. Mike.com loves to tell me that racism is a spectrum. Like, well, in one of my group deals, a girl came in and like she talked about like being beaten with the back of a hairbrush when she was a kid. Now she likes being spanked.
Right, right.
And then another person in the same group, all she liked that was sort of outside the bounds of normality was having her toes sucked. Now that was it. I mean, she didn't like spanking. She wasn't into leather. She didn't like having nipple clamps on or something. She just found it very crazily arousing to have her toes sucked, and that was her kink. Everybody's kink is different. Some people have extreme crazy things. Some people have very simple things. Some people's kink is
I see.
bathrobes on a Sunday morning, and you call that kinky. It's just whatever's outside the norm.
I can see all kinds of kink. I
Mhm.
just don't get the ones that have pain involved, like a nipple clamp. That hurts.
Well, again, it's there's well, like I said, everybody's different. Some people, it's not you know what it is about nipple clamps or clamps in general. It's not the clamp going down. Once the clamp goes down, you don't feel it. There's pain when it first starts to squeeze whatever it is, and then eventually your body adapts. When you take that sucker off, the sudden rush of blood, the rush of endorphins, and everything else, that's a big high. And I'm not recommending this to people who don't have any interest in it or something, but just as a physical reflex of it, both the taboo nature of being sort of like chained up and used and that kind of stuff that turns people on sometimes, and then again, just because of the nature of the biology of the thing, pain elicits pleasure from the body to counteract it, and that's sort of the Pavlovian response to the whole thing sometimes.
Somebody said pain kinks are the easiest to understand. Not for me. I do not enjoy pain at all. The only time I enjoy pain is when I'm fighting, and it's because it enrages me. And
You ever like had a sore leg and you stretched it and it felt good bad?
no,
No?
I've heard of it, but no,
Okay.
pain to me never feels good. I know
Okay.
what you're getting at, but
Hmm.
like when pain stops for me, there's no
Okay.
rush to it. It's just
Yeah, well, I
done.
mean, yeah, your situation's completely drastically different from most people, so yeah, I can
Well,
understand.
this is one of those things. I understand that it happens, but it's one of the I don't think I'll ever be able to wrap my head around it. I've heard several different, um, you ever fight a dildo? Most of the people I've fought were dildos.
Would you fight
Um,
a dildo?
I
I'm gonna go punch that dildo. Oh
want to
my
go back to
god.
something you said because I want to tell a
Okay.
story that I
Sure.
think is funny. You were talking about how exposing your bottom, opening yourself up to somebody. I am very touchy about my butt because I got spanked so much as a child.
I'm touchy about my butt.
I do not like my ass being touched at
Okay.
all. My wife knows this. And one day I am laying there and I took a shower and I wasn't feeling well. So I just came and laid down in bed. I'm laying there naked. I have the sheet around my waist and lower body. And she started giving me a back rub. And she starts going lower and lower down towards my butt. And I'm like, don't touch my butt. And she goes, you need to trust me. I'm like, do not touch my butt. And she goes, no, just trust me. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay. And she moves the blanket down. She starts
Yeah.
rubbing my butt. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she takes her finger and sticks it between my ass cheeks. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Okay, so that if I were being clinical again, that would be a betrayal of trust. This is
It
the
was a
point.
horrible betrayal of
This is
trust.
this is the point at which you would use your safe word, probably red, and say that's a no go. And of course, if you were a
Bad touch, bad touch.
if you were a sensible couple trying out something new for the first time, you would have a negotiation. Submissives and dominants have very formal, especially if they're not actually dating or they don't know each other that well. They have formal negotiations ahead of time. I've even seen people have like a checklist they go down. It's like, okay, do you like this? Do you like that? Um, and I've done it myself with partners in the past. I'll say, do you like to have your hair pulled? Yes, no, maybe. Or the better questions are, um, what do you love having done? What do you hate having done? What are you curious? What scares you to have done, but you're curious to try? What would you never do? And so you set these parameters of where is safe to explore, but you also have the understanding that there is a period of exploration. There is the possibility of making a mistake. So that's why you have sort of a green, yellow, red safe word kind of thing, where it's like you let the person know that that's too much or that's getting into maybe back off kind of thing. And a lot of people think, oh, that's got to be non-sexy. That's got to like throw off the mood and everything else. And it's like, no, not necessarily. If you're both on the same sort of wavelength, it's not a hindrance at all. But anyway,
Well,
yeah. So that's
on this, she was just being funny, and
oh yeah, yeah. I
in
understand.
her defense, that's the kind of humor I enjoy because I knew
Hmm.
she was going to do it. I knew it. I
Right.
knew I shouldn't trust her.
Well, she's your wife. It's whatever.
And so yeah, I've done things to her that are pretty horrible too, just for the laughs. Um, but yeah, I don't expose my butt to anybody.
Okay.
My butt is off limits.
I I'm trying to think. I don't know that I have a no go zone on my body. There are parts of my body that are more sensitive than others, like my earlobes. That'll like if the girl's chewing on my earlobes or something, nibbling on her, so that just like drives me absolutely up the wall. But not in a bad way.
Oh no, yeah, I'm
It could turn into a bad way depending on the situation. But yeah, I don't think I'm off the top of my head. I can't think of anything that equates to your butt warning.
well, my and again, like it's I know where it stems from.
Hmm. Right, exactly.
If my girl touches my nipple, I get mad and sex, and I actually like if a woman sucks my nipple.
Touches now. So your nipples are the off button. Got it.
Click. Um, why are feminists so extremely sexually conservative and puritanistic? Because of what they've been taught about sex. That
Hmm.
sex is just something men want to use to violate them.
It's the as far as I know, one of the most famous proponents of the idea that any sex with men is effectively rape was Andrea
Yes.
Dworkin, who was one of the super duper feminists out of the 60s and 70s. And if you've ever seen a picture of Andrea Dworkin, you can see why she's a feminist and would think that sex is rape because she sure as hell probably wasn't getting much of any. Um, and unfortunately, because when you have a situation where feminism, third wave feminism, promotes the idea of rape culture
Hmm.
and that men and the patriarchy are just there to take advantage of women and oppress and suppress and etc., then what does a woman possess that is most precious? And that is her bodily freedom, especially her sexual freedom. And if you're being told that men want to essentially shackle your sexual freedom to their whim, then that becomes the one thing that you have to protect over everything else. And that's why it inevitably turns, in a lot of cases, to fear of sex or a distaste for sex or the idea that it's something to avoid unless absolutely necessary or something. And that's really, really sad.
Hmm. I know I've talked about her before. Camille Paglia, or Paglia. I said her name wrong so long until I
No,
finally heard it.
she's probably heard that several times.
Yeah. Her talking about the sexual revolution and how when she was in college, the girls had curfews and guys were allowed to be out as long as they want. And their reason
Hmm.
for curfews was to keep them from getting raped.
Right.
And she said, what we said was, give us the freedom to risk rape. And that's what has changed. Back then, they were all about let me be free. And
Hmm.
now it's about please protect me. It's actually turned into what they were fighting against in so many ways. It's literally please protect me, when before it was we are protecting you, and they were saying no, let us be equal. And it
Hmm.
just got completely just fucked over by third wave.
That reminds me of something completely separate that just occurred to me because I remember hearing this one time. I was having a conversation with somebody about, I forget exactly the context, but it had to do with nymphomania.
Hmm.
And there was a girl he knew or something that we knew that there was a nymphomaniac, and just like, oh gosh, she's so sexually free. And somebody else said, how? she can't control it. She's a slave to something she has no control. She's not free. She's
Right.
shackled. She's shackled to an addiction. And it was sort of like one of those like light bulb. And it's like, oh yeah,
Did you ever
sexual freedom means you have a choice in the matter of what you want to do with your body. If you have a condition that is preventing you psychologically or otherwise from making a choice, it's not sexual freedom.
did you ever hear about that poor girl who had orgasms like every 2 minutes?
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah, and
God.
she I think she killed herself, or at least
Yes.
there's been stories of that. There's guys that have that too.
Oh, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. I just like she'd just be sitting there and just like if she shifts the wrong way, she'll have an orgasm. I mean,
Oh,
you want to talk about a too much birthday cake kind of situation.
no shit.
And it would be pain. It would eventually it would just become pain. It wouldn't be pleasure anymore. It would just be constant pain of contraction and just I couldn't. Yeah, it just scares the shit out of me just thinking about it.
that when the first time I heard that, it fucked me up so bad because I'm like, how an orgasm is supposed to be a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
and multiple orgasms I imagine are great, but
Yes.
every day this went on for decades.
Right. Right. Yeah, I've heard of people that have killed themselves because it's like imagine if you could never stop hiccuping.
Right.
There was that girl that's actually there was a few years ago. There was a girl that was famous for about 15 minutes because she was nonstop hiccuping for a year or
Mm.
2 years or
Hmm.
something, and she shortly thereafter went on to kill somebody in a crime spree or something, and then I think she died or something, or I forget what that was, but that was a weird thing. It's like you're famous for one thing 1 second, then you turn into a nefarious person the next.
Somebody said I went to school with a girl that could orgasm from her ski. Here's something. This is a true
Whoa.
experiment they've done before, and you women should try this and tell me how it works out for you. If you can have an orgasm at the same moment in a song or really close to it, you can program yourself to where you hear that song and have an orgasm.
Oh, I used to bring women to orgasm over the phone with my voice.
Oh, see, yeah.
It was basically a form of hypnosis. I mean, this was back when aside from all the crazy stuff I might have done in chat rooms, I had a lot of phone sex before I ever had real sex. Tons of phone sex. It was crazy, and I was always like bringing women, or like, and granted, it's like I'm on a phone, I can't see what's going on the other side, so I have to take it on their word. But I was apparently fairly successful at in talking women into orgasms. I was an imaginative young lad. I could describe things very well. I could tell a story and sort of get very into the dirty details of things, and that sort of like gave them a I called it oral sex.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm funny.
No, I never got into the whole phone sex thing.
Mm,
Probably because I was naked all the time with them.
exactly. Yeah. Well, beggars can't be choosers. So we're not all sluts like you that get the girls all the time.
Well, again, I not all the time. I actually had to turn
I
several down because I
Oh,
couldn't
for
fit them into the
fuck's
sky.
sake, you humble bragging son of a bitch. I had to turn several down. Oh, you
That's
poor
I did
thing.
that just for you while you're there
Oh,
having phone sex.
yeah, exactly.
um, Monkey didn't need. No, I really didn't.
Exactly.
I with what happened to me, and this is actually going back to the whole original point of the stream. Um, Mom died. 6 months later, my brother hung himself, and my fucking world was shattered.
Jesus, dude. I didn't know about your. I'm so sorry. That's
Oh,
awful.
long time ago.
Yeah, still shit.
Some people turn to drugs, some go to alcohol. I went to naked girls. And if you have to choose between those three, that's probably the best way to go.
Probably. Short of like, catching a venereal disease or something.
Yeah, but I mean, two of the three were virgins when I first had sex with them, and the third had only been with one other dude. So I was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Okay. Did you practice safe sex?
No, that's why I'm a
Oh.
grandfather at 41, dude. I had my third child by the time I was 22. I was 23 when he was born.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's also why I had a vasectomy that year.
Yeah. All right.
We went in to see the urologist, and because I was so young, they're like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And my wife taps her stomach, says, "This is number 3."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Gotcha. Holy cats. Well, yep.
Yeah, so I went looking for comfort and found it.
Hmm.
And it helps that I'm actually my real dad. Hey, let's just tell you all kinds of fucked up stories about me.
No, sure. Hey.
The guy who just died a few months ago was not my real dad. I'm
Hmm.
actually the product of an affair. Dad
You're a
was
bastard.
I am the bastard son of a sailor. Um,
Isn't that a song lyric?
I don't know, but it's absolutely true about me. Um, Now I forgot where this story was going.
Your real dad versus your fake dad.
Yeah, but oh, my real dad was a very charismatic dude um, who, despite being a redhead who kind of looked like Ronald McDonald, was a fucking whore. He that I know of, I have five half siblings,
Jesus.
two of which have the same mom. Um, Only one of which he was married to the mother, and I got a lot of his natural charms. Um, I'm not trying to humble brag here. It was just very easy for me to pick up women,
Uh-huh.
and it just comes from it. My mom always called it my real dad's last name, Charm, and so that
Okay.
was my natural go-to. Was girls started paying attention to me, so I diddled a few of them.
Hmm. So, as the title of this thing is called Innocence Lost, we have definitely come to that place over the course of this conversation to where we're just talking about sex.
And not just sex. We've had some freaky sex in
Oh,
here with
yeah.
butts in the air.
Yeah, butts in the air and spanking and nipple clamps.
Um,
So, how about them Pacers, huh?
I don't watch basketball much anymore. I used
Neither
to
do I.
a long time ago.
If I
I am a
watch
Cubbies
basketball,
fan.
the only time that's worth watching a basketball game is the last 5 minutes. Because
Yeah, because
everything else prior to that doesn't matter. It always comes down to the clutch. It's like, okay, is there any drama here? Because it's only going to happen in the last 5 minutes.
for me. I love to play basketball. I hate to
Hmm.
watch it.
I don't. Yeah, unless except for the odd championship game or something. The only sport I ever watched with any consistency, and only because my dad bought season tickets all the time, was the local hockey arena. I
Oh,
was
okay.
watched a lot of hockey when I was a kid, and he used to watch a lot of Canadian broadcasting hockey, and so I got to know a lot about hockey and stuff. So, but I never really liked hockey. It wasn't really that big a deal to me, but it was just fun to like spend time with my dad and go to places where people are cheering and yelling at the referees and calling them names and stuff. And I was a little kid, and I thought that was awesome. But yeah, so sports wise, I was never athletic, so I didn't have any interest in sports.
I loved sports growing up. I never got into hockey, and I still can't. I've tried watching it.
I
I
am
can't follow the
mesmerized
game.
by curling. I could watch
Me
curling
too.
all fucking day because it just amazes me. They're looking down this ice lane at an angle where you can just only kind of imagine where the bullseye is, and yet they have to accurately give the spin and the speed on these rocks to hit right in the center or maneuver the other rocks like a pool table. And whenever you watch it, they have like cameras looking straight down at it, which is not the angle that the players are actually looking at it.
It's just life size shuffleboard.
Yeah, and then watching these, and of course, my
The
favorite part was
guys.
watching these foreign women using little brushes and running down
Yes.
the instead of screeching and whipping and beeping at each other, like yep, 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 whip, whip, whip. Like that's just so cute.
The first time I saw it, I couldn't look away. I'd never seen it before. It was on the
Mhm.
Olympics. I'm like, what the hell am I even watching?
Yeah,
Sat there for the whole thing.
I'm hypnotized by curling. I could watch that all day.
Damn, we are all over the place tonight. See, I told you we wander.
Yeah. Oh
What's Aaron doing? Fuck Mary Kill. No, I don't want to fuck Mary Kill.
no, I don't like that game. It's just stupid. It's like, oh, Hitler, Stalin, or Mao. Hmm.
Do it with people that are beautiful and we'll talk.
Yeah, come up with like '90s porn actresses, and then I could probably give you a decent estimation.
See, I wouldn't know who they are. I never memorized
Oh,
their
I have I,
names.
I have my list. Celeste. Oh my God. Oh, Celeste
Scribe's gonna
and
need a moment here.
Chris. Let's see, Krista Mays, Celeste, and Nikki Dial. Those are probably my top three '90s porn actresses. Oh my God, Celeste especially. Holy cow. She got a nose job
See,
that made her look better, but yeah, she. Oh man.
the only ones I would know would be from the '80s. Back with Amazon Bush and
Oh, like Nina Hartley and that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Chambers. What the hell was her first name?
Marilyn.
Marilyn Chambers. There you go. Yeah. But past that, in my teen years, it was just to look at it, be done, and I'm gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I had my favorites because I'd steal my dad's pornos and stuff, and then just like watch them, and then just try to put them back exactly like I found them, so he wouldn't catch me.
Well, it was funny. A porno disappeared out of my room once, and my wife was like, "Oh, I can't believe they did this." And I'm like, honey,
Yeah, seriously.
trust me, the boys have seen those from start to finish, but never in one sitting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the rewind button is the best part.
Yeah. Kids today have it so easy. Not only the internet, but they
I
can
know.
DVD, go right to your favorite part. You don't have to rewind or
Oh,
nothing.
you don't even need a DVD. You just have to like just skip around on the Pornhub thing, and there it is.
Oh yeah. Not that I've
Yeah.
ever been to Pornhub.
No. I don't go there every day. Wait, what?
Okay, I think I am going to bring this to the end. I
Yeah,
need sleep.
I do too. Pretty soon.
Guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to go check out Scribe's channel. It is really good content over there.
I don't talk about BDSM on my channel.
Maybe you should.
I'll make a separate channel if I go that direction.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time.
Bye, guys.